the freelancing space. We also got the honor of having the Chief Judge of Borno State share his own experience from the bench, from the view of the bench, and also share the technological innovations that the NJC is implementing for the judiciary as a whole, if it can be, applicable and, accepted by all members of the judiciary across the nation. So today's session also promises to be much more than yesterday, much more insightful. We have 3 different sessions today. We have the first session on commercial legal advisory. We have 3 speakers who are going to be discussing their views on commercial legal advisory and their experience in the commercial legal advisory space. Then the second session is going to be with Senator, just one speaker, Senator Ihenyen, who is a thought leader in the blockchain and technology space, smart contracts, blockchain, and fintech space as a whole. And the last session is going to be with Emmanuel Faith on how to work on your CV. The plan or the vision behind the Grey Discourse is to achieve promoting a clear path for young lawyers to follow, promoting or illuminating ideas and views from experienced and seasoned lawyers to guide the younger lawyers and the green wigs, or even the potential ones who haven't even seen their results, on how to plan for their future. People are still trying to decide, what do I want to do? Which sort of profession do I want to work in? This is an opportunity to talk to the people who have been there, who have done that and have succeeded at it in their different fields. So what we're trying to achieve today is have a heart-to-heart conversation with all our speakers to get the best views on how young lawyers can follow their career path and learn from their mistakes, their exposures, their experiences to become better people. So we'll go ahead to the first session. Zikora, are we good to go?
Yes, we're good to go. We're good to go. We're streaming live currently on YouTube.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. If we're good to go, then let's go ahead to session 1. Session 1 has 3 speakers. And today I have with me the honor of introducing to everyone listening, the partner at one of the partners at Bloomfield Law Practice, Ayodele Oni, is one of our speakers for today. I also have with me here Mrs. Tosin Ajose, or as I would like to call her, Mrs. A. I happen to be a DealHQ alum, the lead advisor at DealHQ. She happens to be my former boss, so she is dear to me. I have to call myself a DealHQ alum, and that's why I'm doing what I guess the calling her Mrs. A. Good afternoon, Mrs. A. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Joshua. How are you doing? Good to see you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good to see you too.
Ayo, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Yes. Finally, our last speaker for the day, but I'm not sure, I've not been able to confirm she's on with us, is Mavis Abada, a senior associate at Banwo. Zikora, please, can you confirm she's on the call with us? I'm not sure she is.
I don't think she is. I've not seen her. I've been trying to look through. I don't think she's joined us.
That's fine.
But I think she'll be joining us in the course.
No problem. That's fine then. We'll go ahead and start. So this session is all about commercial legal practice. And the beauty for me is I have the honor of, learning or starting out with Mrs. A, as I had said earlier. And believe me, this is something that was instilled in me, the idea of commercial awareness. Starting out in the profession, you see the need for lawyers to know much more than just the law. Anyone can know the law, but understanding how to apply the law in the commercial space is a different topic entirely. So the first question I have for both speakers today, Mr. Ayodele Oni, Mrs. A, what exactly does it mean for a lawyer to be commercially aware in this age and time? Mr. Ayodele, would you like to go first?
I'd like the lady to start first. I think that's probably more respectful.
Okay, more respectful then.
Ayo, that's a setup. That's a setup right there. I just walked into a setup this Saturday afternoon.
So, Mrs. A, would you like to go first?
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Josh. I hope my connection stays good. I'm taking the call from just taking a quick dive out of a meeting. So what does it mean for a lawyer to be commercially aware, understanding the rudiments of business, the play between, markets and systems, understanding operations, understanding profits, understanding processes, and how everything ties together. That's how I would define commercial awareness. And for a lawyer, at the center of what we do is trying to move market systems, policies, and people. There is no way to do that without having a good sense of, how the market works, having a good sense of, that congruence and market. So it is very, very critical for you as a lawyer to have some measure of commercial awareness. If you don't understand your client's business, whether you are on the litigation side or on the distribution side, or you work on the corporate side like some of us, you will not be able to align with your clients' expectations or their objectives, and you will not be able to find them. So I think, at the bedrock of our work as lawyers, on whatever divide we find ourselves, there is one critical element that is important for your work, and it is called commercial awareness.
Thank you so much for that, Ma. It's very important, as you have said, that we understand that commercial awareness is at the bedrock of everything. It's the crux of our profession, because whatever divide you find yourself, you must be able to understand what clients need. And at the basic core of any business, it's commercial dealings. So, Ayodele, how would you like to describe what needs to know about commercial awareness?
Okay, she said a lot, to be honest, and much of what I might have wanted to say, but I mean, that's it. But I'd add a bit to that. You need to understand trends and follow trends. I think that when you first start off, you want to understand the fundamental principles around law and all of that. But when you begin to then advise, you need to be hands-on and practical. Now, for example, commercial awareness would mean that you understand what your client does and you understand the trends in the market, and you are even able to make inputs to decisions beyond pure law. Every now and then I get to meet someone Tosin has advised in the past, and they say, oh, and they refer to her. Whether we're having conversations, not necessarily legal or looking to advise them, maybe they are my friends or friends, and they say, oh yeah, she gave them ideas on how to get certain things done. So if you do your research, if you follow the trends in the market, and the practical stuff you can do. One, the news is so important, and reading certain tabloids like Business Day, I would say is very important this day. So commercial awareness, also from a negotiation point of view, I think that finding solutions that work for both parties, or letting go of certain points when you negotiate, because you know what your client wants to ultimately achieve. I think that's commercial awareness. So very so often I'm on the other side with other lawyers, particularly where you, and I'm not trying to be mischievous now, when you have guys who do purely litigation, they want every point, and you just let them have some of the points, because you know they don't really go to the foundation of what you want to achieve. And then when you then want your own points, you tell them, oh, I've given you 10 things already, so can I have this? At times they're not even commercially aware. They're just, so that's one thing, doing your research, and also ensuring that doing your research and also ensuring that you understand your client's business. I always say that a lawyer who is an expert is not just one who understands what the law is in that area, but you must also understand the business sides to things. So that's what I would say in summary. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ayodele. I think one thing I took note of in particular is the fact that there must be attention to detail, because you make it very clear that it's not just about drafting a document and having it, ready for a client, but understanding the nitty-gritties of the clauses, the details, to make sure that that document is securing your client's interest. That's one of the most important things I take from what you just said. And, moving on from this particular statement you just made, I feel like yesterday there was a bit of a scuffle when we started out with the people who discussed litigation at its core. And, there was this back and forth as to, are we saying that litigation is now old school? Are we saying that you commercial lawyers are the future of the legal profession? Then the guys who were for litigation made it clear that at the core of it all, litigation is still the mother of our profession. But what I just want you both to address is, in understanding your place as a lawyer, is there anything wrong with looking beyond litigation, or is there really a need for you to have some basic foundation with the practice of litigation, even if you expand your horizon beyond litigation? What do you feel about lawyers saying, I don't care about litigation at all? So, would you like to go first?
Well, okay, that's fine. That's fine this time around. I think that I think it's always good to have a foundation in litigation, and that's my personal view. I mean, I don't think I'm not sure it's an absolute position or an absolute view. It's just my own view, and it may as well be myopic. And I'll tell you why. Usually, when you negotiate contracts, you also need to have at the back of your mind that this might end in court, whether or not you want it. So if you do have that at the back of your mind, it also guides you in your reviews, in doing your analysis, even in your negotiation. Also, you need to take into consideration the fact that you want your document to be balanced. So that will guide you achieving.
Doctor, I think you mistakenly muted yourself, Doctor. Your mic is muted.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize
fine, Doctor.
that.
That's fine, Doctor.
I said whether you like it or not, you will always find your client in court or having to resolve a dispute every now and then. So it may be a good idea to have that background. And I'm not saying that's absolute, but that's my view. I think I did do some litigation for a year plus. I think that was during just before NYSC. I think not necessarily going to court, but yeah, going to court actually. Yeah, I did some litigation for a short while, maybe a year or two. So I think that it's a good thing, and I think it did give me a different perspective to issues at times with that background. But I wouldn't say it's absolute anyway. That's
okay. View. Thank you so much, Dr. Oni. Mrs. A, what's your view on litigation and the other practices?
So first off, let me say that those skills are complementary. For those of us that don't have a very solid background in advocacy, sometimes it shows in the way that for people that work in litigation. And just like Ayo, I did a stint, in advocacy at the early stages of my career, both as an intern before finishing school. I had the privilege of working with Mrs. Funke Adekoya SAN for a bit, and I know how invaluable those experiences were, because advocacy shapes you in certain ways. It allows you be able to analyze very in-depthly, right? It allows you to put yourself in the position of the other party, understand the way they're thinking. It allows you read situations, you develop oratory skills, you develop emotional intelligence, which you find that may not come naturally to you. So I remember in the early days of working as a corporate commercial lawyer, I was one of the very few people in my firm who had a stint at advocacy. And I can tell you how you that was for me. I was the one that was always able to say, no, this area. So I'm already, thinking about the practicality of the draft. I'm thinking about how it'll play out in real life scenarios. I'm thinking about, so to legal drafting and to make allowances for potential dispute areas and make sure that you cover the bases even in the way that you approach, your commercial work. So first off, let me say that there is absolutely no need for any side of the divide to feel like maybe superior or more important than the others. I feel that they are completely complementary. But I think also that at some point you need to decide what works for you. If you are one of those people that gets off of, wanting to sharpen your oratory skills, wanting to do core advocacy, all of those things, it is a fantastic career direction. Fantastic career direction. That may not have been the career direction that I am taking, but I know without a doubt that I am a better lawyer today, better commercial lawyer today, because of the very little stint that I had doing So I hope that helps. Sorry, I'm done. I hope I answered the question. Can you hear me?
Mrs. A, can you still hear us? Okay, I'm here.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so that must be my network then. I just want to confirm whether it's your network or my network. That's fine. Okay, as long as everyone could hear you. I was going to, take off from where you stopped and say that just like Dr. Oni and yourself have addressed some of the skills that are important that complement advocacy skills. One that comes to mind, especially with my experience working with you, is computational thinking. And that's why I want us to address. I think for me, and you both can correct me if I'm wrong, computational thinking is important for any commercial lawyer. You must be able to solve problems. You must be logical. You must be numeric in your thinking. You must be able to think fast and make decisions. Now, the question for most young lawyers is, at the beginning, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't even understand it. I was a bit confused, but I grew into it. I was mentored. How do you advise these young lawyers coming up to understand and groom computational thinking as a skill? And secondly, what other skills, apart from the ones you had mentioned, like negotiation skills, reading and staying in touch with what is happening in the news and in the global market, what other skills, apart from these skills we have mentioned, can we also add to being a successful commercial lawyer? Dr. Oni, would you like to go first?
Well, okay, that's fine. Okay, I think I'll start from other skills. I think it's very important to be business-minded, to know that law is first a business. Well, maybe I'm moving too fast for the much younger lawyers, but it's a good thing to start with, actually, to understand that law is a business. Now, simple maths. Your firm pays you 5 million a year. Of that 5 million, what do you contribute? What steps do you take? What do you do exactly? Oh my God. What steps do you take? What exactly do you do to add to the bottom line? So that's important. Another thing that is very important is social skills. Now, you need to be able to understand that law being a business means you need to bring in business to be able to generate revenue and get paid. A book I would recommend is A Great Game of Business. I don't know if some of us might have seen that book. It's really good. It helps you understand that at the end of the day, if you are not in business, then you are not in business. There have been stories of large law firms that have gone belly up. As long as you don't develop the next generation to understand that you need certain skills, apart from expertise, you need social skills to be able to have, even in areas where you're not an expert, you should have conversational knowledge. You should be able to discuss issues. You should be able to rub off positively. That's another thing I say, rubbing off positively on other people when you meet people. Okay, I'll give you a scenario, and I'm sure most people would make the same choice as I will. You know someone who would deliver 99%, which is excellent, but very badly behaved, may not even turn up. And you know someone else who will do 92 or 90 or even 88. You are more likely to recommend that person who will do 88% or 90% in terms of quality of the work than someone who will do 99, but who's unlikely to turn up. So your social skills, your attitude are also very important things. And ultimately, and we may get there, I think it should just be different. Whether it's in carving a niche for yourself. Okay, so today you've got Tosin and I, and there would have been a Mavis at this moment. But there's someone else who is going to be alone, probably suggesting that that person's skill is probably more interesting to the younger generation. That's the blockchain lawyer, senator.
Okay, Senator Ihenyen.
Yeah, senator. Yeah. So if you are different, I'll tell you another story. You just need to be different, and you need to ultimately work hard, whatever it takes beyond hard work. Of course, you need to be smart to be 1% of your in the area where you practice. If you are amongst the best, you will sit down. People will look for you to give you transactions. People will have conversations, and your name will come up.
Yes,
that's one thing. Striving to be amongst the best, whatever way you want to achieve that. Now, I'll tell you a story. You might be aware of there's some football competition for lawyers. The Aluko football
that's
competition.
Olumide Aluko
yes.
competition.
Bankole,
yes.
Yeah, is it
Bankole, sorry.
Olumide Aluko, yes. Okay, so I in my previous employment, and because they were great people, there's no point I would mention the name Banwo Ighodalo. There was a gentleman. He was so good at football, at what he did, that every weekend he was doing his masters, but was a staff of BNI. That's Lamide Oshikoya. BNI will fly him in every Thursday or Friday for the match, and then he will go back on Monday. If you're not exceptional, no one's going to do that for you. If you're not exceptional, and I'm not sure it wasn't even business class, so you need to be different. And those are some of the things when you start off. You need to on your research skills. You need to be different in whatever. Sorry, I've muted myself. I was saying I didn't want to say too much so that Tosin, I don't keep Tosin waiting. That's fine. I said one or two of my own other stories, but maybe we'll get there at some point.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Doctor, I noticed you didn't address the issue of computational skills. You said you wanted to start with other skills.
Oh, yes, correct. True, sorry. In terms of computational skills, and I think it's quite related to even your earnings, numbers. And in terms of that, you just need to apply yourself. For me, it's applying yourself. More often than not, it's not about being taught. It's not about people teaching you things. Yes, maybe you need the initial nudge and all of that, but it's applying yourself. Very often you see opinion, and you just know this person didn't think it through. This person didn't apply themselves. And in my view, it's difficult for you to teach people to teach them how to apply themselves. It's just that you just have to do it. It may be something you say to that person. It may be a review. Okay, so I'd reviewed someone's work once, and that was the first time the person was reviewing a document, and he was looking at typos. And there were fundamental issues, business issues, legal issues. So, for example, if you look at, without necessarily going to examples, the specifics, let me not go into the specifics. But there were critical issues in that document. And the person was only looking at typos, commas, and all of that. But after I had a conversation with that person, the next document was much better. Yes. He or she was able to then apply him or herself. So those are my own thoughts. I'm sure
Thank you.
Would have much more to say.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Mrs. Ajose, your view?
Thank you, Ayo. I'll start from the computational skills that you spoke about. So, there's this thing that, keeps going around about, oh, lawyers are not good with math. So at the foundation of being a lawyer is your ability to think logically and numerically. 1 + 1 is 2. If you don't have 1 + 1 and you have 1 + X, it cannot be 2. That is the basic foundation of being a lawyer, analytical thinking. that is at the core of being a lawyer. So, I mean, you cannot emphasize the importance of that enough. So I'm happy that you mentioned it. It's not just about knowing the law. Please forget all the section 56 sub 4 and all the crammed laws and the cases that you learned in university. Those things are good. They would only allow you pass exams. When you are out from the university or the university system or the law school system, it now comes down to applying your legal knowledge to solve practical life issues. And those things, section 44, subsection 2 is good, but what is the implication of sections 44, subsection 2 on the current scenario that you're dealing with? And section 44, subsection 2 may be a conflicting provision on that subject matter, but another section 77, subsection 4, further down the same legislation, may have permitted what you're trying to do. So I would leave that point and then go to the next one, which I think is one of the most important skills that you need to have as a lawyer, and it is called diligence.
Yeah.
I cannot emphasize this enough. Hardworking. You need to be willing to put in the work. You need to be willing to think. A lot of young people are mentally lazy. I find that to be very common, these days. A lot of people don't want to exert their intellect. They don't want to think. They don't want to analyze and come to solutions. They are depending on other people to help them. They stop at the stage of just knowing maybe the laws and all of that, and then the practical application becomes a problem. You need to be diligent. You need to be willing to put in the work, especially the mental and the intellectual work. I remember in the early days of being a lawyer, one of the things that my boss and mentor used to tell me a lot was to say, look, Tosin, nobody can take away the fact that you are intelligent. But diligence will beat intelligence any day. I was smart. I knew I was smart, but I was lazy, especially mentally. And it took a lot of, effort for me to recalibrate my mind and decide that for me to stay on this career course, I needed to embrace diligence. And I'm thankful that, I had, those, I made those changes early on in my career, and those things have really, really helped me. I think another one that I would talk about is innovation and creativity, right? You must have an inquisitive mind.
Sorry, excuse me, Mrs. A. Please, everyone should stay muted. It's very important. Thank you very much. You can continue, ma.
Yeah, so I also think that one other important thing is that you need to always have an inquisitive mind.
Yeah.
How can we do it different from the way we did it yesterday? What can we do to get a better result? Don't be fixated in what you know. Have an inquisitive mind. Always think of how can we do it better? There's something I tell my team all the time. I say, always ask yourself the question, and so what? About whatever you are thinking, about whatever you are doing. So what is the import of it at the end of the day? And how does it help you move along the line to what you are trying to achieve, your already identified objectives? I think another thing I'll mention is integrity, which is almost going, extinct amongst, our community. A lot of people think that lawyers don't have integrity, right? So I think it's important for young lawyers to distinguish themselves in the market with integrity. Let your word be your bond. When you say you're going to do something, do it. When you say you're not going to do something, don't do it. Don't be a different person when the door is shut than when the door is open. Have integrity, not the kind of eye service integrity that, is just because people are looking, right? Have integrity. I think it helps, and it earns you respect from people. I think consistency is also another thing that I would like to mention. and just balance it out with what I had said before about having an inquisitive mind. Be consistent. Be consistent on your journey as a lawyer. It may not always play out the way that you have scripted it in your head, but just know that it will work out perfectly eventually.
Yes.
Some of us started out, with very difficult stories and journeys and all of that. Things are usually, quite tough for a young lawyer. You're working back to back several hours, some people will say, oh, no work-life balance and all of that. As much of what you can achieve, as much as you can achieve, do, but please remember to be consistent. Be consistent with diligence, be consistent with being there, be consistent with being trustworthy, be dependable. Be dependable. Let people be able to commit things into your hand and go to bed, knowing that this person is consistent, they have integrity. Don't show up on Monday and not show up on Tuesday. I don't mean that literally, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. Be consistent. And then finally, I would say, take out time to build your personal brand. You don't need to build your brand when you become a partner in a law firm. You can begin to make little ripples within the industry from the time that you become a lawyer at your own level, whether it is volunteering for one association and helping them do the what may seem dirty job, right? Just keep trying to build your circle of influence. Ayo talked about having social skills. Very, very important. Yes. Law never translates to money without people. Without people, without relationships, So that point of conversion is usually driven by having social skills. And so it's important for you, to ensure that you are paying attention to your personal brand, as little as your personal grooming, showing up looking like a decent lawyer, dressing properly, whether you are male or female, looking, the professional part, ensuring that, you pay attention to the things that matter, show up, so, I mean, those are some of the things. Build your name, build your reputation in the very little ways you can from when you are a young lawyer. Take on opportunities, do internships, do whatever it is that you need to do, to put yourself out there, volunteer, take small platforms. I'm very happy today, some of the things that I see on social media, young people taking up platforms, disrupting the order of things. Some of us, when we're younger lawyers, before you will get an opportunity to speak or do something like what Joshua is doing, man, maybe you would have become like a senior associate in a top law firm before, you get those opportunities. But now, technology has allowed for opportunities for everyone to be heard, opportunity for you to own your own platforms, opportunity for you to put yourself out there. If you have value to sell, people will buy. Whether you are 1 year old or you are 81 years old, if you have value to sell, people will buy. So those are some of the things that I think that I would say could be helpful to young lawyers. I hope you find that useful somewhat.
Thank you so much, Mrs. A. I can say for a fact that you have addressed almost every other question I had in store. So I'm just going to run through them. And I feel that's just something that's very important, especially the part where you talked about value, even from day one, even before you get your call to bar results or your bar final results and all that, start branding yourself. Let people know that you have so much to offer. And I also need to shake the table earlier. Stop looking at document teacher, looking out for just typos, commas, and full stops. Look at documents and deal with the legal and commercial effects of the document. I can't lie, even I was a victim of that back then. I was one of the people that could be said to have looked at documents and keep trying to make sure that dot is there, that I is there, and that's not at the core of my work. So definitely, we can't afford to be lazy as young lawyers. Now, moving on to this question, which is very important, and Mrs. A addressed it a bit. Unlike those in litigation, people are in trouble, they reach out to you, they come and tell you to come and help them with one land dispute or the other. Dispute is a part of life. So litigation or litigators tend to always find clientele, but there seems to be an issue on how to grow clientele in the commercial space. What would be your advice for people building their brand and also being rainmakers? Yes, all of us can be rainmakers, but at the minute level, you must have the ability to at least build clientele. What's your advice? Dr. Oni, would you like to go first?
Okay. The Bible says, see a man, and I apologize for those who may not believe the Bible or who are not Christians, but yeah, I'll start from there, since I'm a person of faith. Yeah. Okay, so the Bible says, see a man who is diligent or skilled, he'll stand before kings. Now, I'd alluded to a point earlier. Strive, whatever it takes. And I think Tosin has given many of those ingredients. Be 1% of your profession, or at least of your amongst your contemporaries. So maybe you can't be 1% when you bring in, maybe I'm not even 1% when you bring in Mr. Ighodalo, when you bring in Bengo, but when you bring in certain people. But for my generation, I think at least for my area of practice, energy, oil, gas, power, I mean, very, very, very often I sit down, people just say, oh, we had a conversation and you and XYZ were shortlisted to do a transaction. One of your firms would have to do it. So we want to do a beauty parade or something. It's because, one, you strive to be top, and then you also make people realize that. Now, I'll tell you a story. The single most important step I would say I've taken in my career was writing books, particularly my first book on electric power. And that did open a lot of doors and a lot of new relationships for me. I have friends who are commissioners now because they read my book before they became commissioners. I have friends who are wives to governors. Some of them met me through my writing, MDs. So if you write, it's not sufficient to be good. People must realize that you are. Now, there's making a lot of noise and not being what you're told and not being extremely good at what you're doing. There are people who can do that. There's also so much of the social media bleeds, and then you give them the task they can't perform. So you first earn your skills. As you earn your skills, you also ensure that people are aware that you can do it, whether by writing, and I hope I'm right. I'm answering the question because I didn't note it, but I think it's along those lines.
Yes,
that's one thing you need to do to ensure that you grow clientele. Recall that if you do something bad, one person is going to tell 1 million people. If you do something good, they're probably going to tell only 10,000 people. True. Yeah, when something is negative, the effect is usually more telling. You understand? Yes. So ensure that you work, you're diligent, like she had mentioned. Yes. I wouldn't want to repeat what she said. Just strive to be on top, so that where there are conversations in your area of practice, even if it's for your generation alone, you are amongst the best people. Another thing you need to take into consideration, I said that charity begins at home. Now, it's difficult to say that you're a lawyer, you have no uncles, you have no aunties, you know absolutely no one. Start from your uncles. So I'll tell you a little story. When I apart from the book, so when I was doing my master's, I was doing research. I wanted to write something on electric power because at that time there was beginning to be some movement around power. And I realized, I was doing my master's at the University of Calgary in Canada. I realized that I couldn't find any text, Nigerian text. I could see articles, journals, but no text, no complete text. And I said, you know what? This is an opportunity. What does that mean? Always see, many times people see problems. Problems are usually opportunities that have sort of hidden themselves in the cloak of difficulty or something. So usually when there are problems, it means there's an opportunity to solve that problem, to add value, and to get value in return. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to tell anyone because there are people who have more resources than me that probably will work faster. I'm going to write a book on electricity, electric power law and policy. And I started to 3 months before it was ready, then I started to make the noise through relationships, my friends, my bosses, and you know, and that was it. I got a lot of support. I think the firm gave me like 5 million at that time just to support me, because one of the partners asked for the transcript and said, let me read it. If I'm happy, we will support you. And he read it. Mr. Ighodalo is such a nice and generous
Негрос, блядь, уж сейчас нахуй, а слагабалась, блядь, сучек-то.
Sorry about
Нахуй,
that.
негры,
Please,
блядь,
can we
гибейра,
deal with
нахуй,
muting
ебани,
all
блядь,
our
не
mics,
кончаешь, нахуй.
please?
Негры, блядь.
Can we have the host remove this person? Because I'm
Нигер,
not even
fuck
sure
you,
he's
блядь,
supposed to
нигер
be
X,
on
нахуй,
this
из общин,
call.
блядь. Африка, нахуй.
Ikora, please, can you deal with that, please? Apologies for the
Если меня,
interruptions.
блядь, гирдят.
I think this is one of those Zoom bombings we hear about. Just people joining the call
Shoot
and
us,
not even
блядь.
have any relationship with that. Can we deal with the intruder, please? Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
So okay,
Let's continue.
Yeah, so I was talking about my book. Then I was going to also mention something around. I lost my train of. Let's see.
Apologies for that.
So my book. That's one angle. I was also going to tell a story that I can't remember at the moment, but I think it has to be build developing clients. And I'm trying to remember what's before the intrusion. I'm trying to remember. Maybe I'll let
sorry, Doc, you were talking about writing your book and the support that you got from
the firm. We understand that, but you are moving on from there.
Yes, I was moving on from there to something else that I thought was quite important, but I can't remember now. I think I'll let Tosin speak.
No problem. We can go ahead and let Mr. Ajose speak, and when you remember, we'll address it. So, Mrs. Ajose, the same question to you on how to grow clientele. And this is coming from you that, you know, back then I used to, you know, struggle, and you just keep telling me, you know, keep pushing, keep putting yourself out there, because I see the fact that for litigators, it's just as simple as anyone that looks for trouble or has trouble will come. But for us in the commercial space, we have to go out there. They don't come to us. So what are we supposed to do as young lawyers to build reputation and
sorry,
before
Tosin speaks, I now remember. Now, when I moved, and I hope you don't mind, Tosin, I apologize. I did forget at some point because of that intrusion. Okay, so when I joined Bloomfield as a partner, the energy practice team had only one client at that point.
Okay.
You know, I've got great partners, and it was easy for Kunle Obebe and Doyin Afun to understand that we had only in my practice, we had only one client. And you know, when you are consistent, like Tosin had mentioned, if you consistently consistently show excellence sells. That one client did bring another 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 clients. So if they did mention they needed a lawyer, particularly if they said ene, even if they hadn't finished the word energy, or they said oil, he's running. So multinationals, names I wouldn't want to mention, some of them the biggest energy companies in the world, some of them really big multinationals. So if you consistently, if that person can vouch for you, and you hear stuff like every now and then we'll even meet at conferences, that client was usually invited to come speak, and he would say to me that, oh, at times I think you're the next best thing after sliced bread, whatever that means. I heard that for the first time. You know,
it's a compliment, doctor. It's a compliment.
Excellent word. Excellent work. Practical solutions. Now, one problem I have with lawyers at times, particularly younger lawyers, is you've given them a problem. They're telling you sections and sections and sections of the law, and they don't find a solution. I don't need that. The client doesn't need that.
Exactly.
We can be academic, and we can want to banter. We might want to do analysis and all of that. But when it comes to the client simply wants solutions to their problem. That's what they pay for, not even the analysis. Now, diligent people who like to read, might want to follow your thought pattern and all of that. But at the end of the day, they want a solution to the problem, full stop. So if you don't find a solution, and one thing I say to young lawyers, my starting point, so I have certain principles, certain things in my head, and some of them are just idealistic, maybe not necessarily realistic all the time. When a client gives me a task, two things come to mind. What is this client trying to achieve? And secondly, I always believe that the client can do what they want to do. Now, the difference between the client and I is that They might want to do it a particular way, but I might suggest to them to do it a different way because of the law. But you still want to ensure that they're able to achieve their commercial goals. That's very, very crucial.
Important.
Otherwise, even if you're friends, even if that's your uncle that I spoke about, or your rich auntie, or your parents, sell a property, they have a commercial problem. If you do not solve that problem, they won't come back, even if they love you. Because at the end of the day, clients usually don't stay with you because they like you. Otherwise, brands like, that was my first food. I don't even remember the name now. Motorola should still be top.
Oh, okay.
Clients don't care about you. They care about you solving. Usually, I'm not saying that it's all the time. I have a number of clients who are also my really good friends. And I even say to some of my senior colleagues that, oh, don't worry, I can send my client to you. He's never going to leave me because he's also my very good friend. You understand? But otherwise, generally speaking, clients just want people who solve their problems. The day you stop solving their problems because of relationships,
become invaluable.
Yes. They might allow you to get off the hook once, but after that,
you become of no value to them. Thank you so much, Dr. Oni. I think the summary of what you're saying is the best advertisement or reputation is a satisfied client. And on that note, I would like Mrs. A to just address this issue of clientele growth.
Okay, thanks. And I think Ayo covered, all the bases. I'll just say a few things. First off, let me correct the impression. I think it's a mindset that needs to change. Everybody can be a rainmaker, whether you are a partner or you're an associate, because value sells. Even within your organization, value sells. And this is coming from someone that leads a startup law firm, and it's hard for you to build your clientele base when you are a new business. You are building structures, you are building processes, you are building systems, but most importantly, you are trying to build your clientele base. And as a young firm, one of the things that we struggled with the most was me convincing my team that everybody could rainmake.
Yes.
Right? Even for younger people, because the reality is, like I said, value sells. If you are an associate straight from law school and you are able to rainmake and generate work, trust me, the kind of value that you are bringing to the firm may even be, if you are a grinder, someone that has capacity to do the work, because it's the balance of grinding and finding that makes, and it is usually appreciated in a lot of organizations and systems. So if you are one of those associates that are thinking, oh, when am I going to make it this small salary? One of the ways that you can augment your compensation is to, actually begin to think about how you can add value in terms of rainmaking. Now, to what you mentioned about it being easier on the litigation side, I think it's a farce. I don't think so. So maybe the way it seems is that there are more lower hanging fruit kind of litigation work that people would easily feel comfortable to give to a younger lawyer than transactional work. If that is the point, I probably agree. But the reality is, finding work, creating business is the hardest part of any enterprise. It's not even law. It's not even law alone. Any professional services enterprise. That is the hardest part of the work, right? So what do you do to ensure that you are able to keep this thing? I'll give a few examples of what has worked for me, and maybe you guys will find it helpful. So from when I was a younger lawyer, because I'm an Ijebu girl, I like money, right? So I've always looked for opportunities to earn more. And so that was a driving force for me to consistently look out for how to get work into the firm so that I could earn some commission, right? So that drove me in my younger years as a lawyer, consistently trying to find who to talk to and all of that. And when I eventually started trying to build, an enterprise of my own, I was not new to trying to knock on doors and get them to open. One thing is, you are not begging when you're looking for work as a professional. You're not begging, so you shouldn't feel bad.
Yes.
You will learn humility along the way to slam on your face. It's completely part of the process. Sometimes you would attempt to do cold calls and you might even be embarrassed because you may get a very cold, unaffectionate response. Some other times you are completely ignored. Trust me, I'm sure Ayo would tell you that he's been, at that bus stop a number of times as well. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You wake up the next day, you shake it off and you start all over again.
Yeah.
Sometimes for some of us that now look like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 clients, I keep telling my people, some of these relationships were cultured for 5 years before anything even materialized in terms of work. So you need to understand that you build relationships with people first. That relationship is the most important thing. You build relationships, you build trust. Because the kind of work that we do, people need to know that they can trust you. You may not even be the smartest lawyer. If you strike a chord with a client and they believe that you have earned trust in your trust bank with them, they are more likely to give you work than to give that lawyer that is, the first rated in that industry or that sector. Because relationships are key and trust is even more important. So whilst you are trying to sharpen your legal skills and all the other skills that we talked about, be deliberate about building relationships, be deliberate about building trust.
Yes.
And then when you find the work, Ayo talked about how he started, energy practice with one client.
Yes.
And one client multiplied and became 10 clients. Why? I don't know how many, I don't know that it may not be 1 year. I don't know the time frame, but I'm sure that there was a process, right?
Yes.
One multiplies. So the clientele journey grows in geometric progression, but it would usually start with none to 1, maybe to 4, to 10, from 10 maybe to 50. And then by the time you are, hitting those milestones, it looks like you know what you're doing. The reality is some of the seeds were sown many, many years before. The diligence he showed, the integrity he demonstrated, the value he sold, the relationships he built. See how see the dynamo effect of all of that.
Yes.
So don't feel bad if, oh, I've been trying, I've been speaking to the man, I've gone to his office 100 times. Just keep showing up.
Yes.
And when you get the opportunity to serve one person, know that it's a privilege and don't take it for granted, because that one door that has opened, remember the equation, 1 can open 40. Let's just use Ayo's example. 1 can open 10, 1 can open 40, and then it just starts growing like that. So it's a journey, and you must be willing to go on that journey and pay the price. Some of us are not even there yet. We are still knocking on doors, and doors are still being shut in our faces, even as old as we are, So just know that you must be humble, you must show up, you must be willing to give it time. And when you get any opportunity, make the best of it. Give value, because value sells.
Yes.
Okay.
This is A. Thank you so much for that. Yes, working with you and even starting my own practice. Disappointment should not be the full stop. You must be willing to continue striving to give the best and always be willing to take feedback where there was a no. So no, but why? To grow. That's just my own little advice. Now, while we round up this session, because I mean, we have so much discussed today, and we wish, while you give your closing remarks, it's very important that we address some little concerns. We can call them, personal questions, but these are what the young lawyers so far, in our research want. So, Dr. Oni, Mrs. A, please take note of these two questions. One, you both have experience working for top law firms, and you now run your own practices. You are now partners at your own practice, lead in your own case, Mrs. A. How exactly can you advise lawyers who have the best grades to get into these law firms or prestigious law firms to grow their own skills, and maybe if they are looking up to you guys, become partners and run their own practice? What is the growth pattern for those who don't have good grades? Because people tend to think third class, second class, lower is a death sentence after law school. That's the first question. And number two, Mrs.
Please, I would like to answer the first question. I would like to answer it because me, I didn't pass. I'm not a first class somebody. So,
believe me, I know that you are the best person for that.
I'm
That's
sure
why
that
I am happy
maybe
to have.
Ayo is the first class material, so he doesn't understand that demography. So
believe me, I'm so happy to have you there, Mrs. A. So I know you're going to address that perfectly fine. Number two question, and you addressed it a bit earlier. Because for commercial lawyers, they seem to always have that question: how do I balance things out? Work-life balance. A lot of people think, you know what, I can't be a commercial lawyer because a lot of other things in my life will suffer. But so far, it's not been that crazy. It's just priority and, balance. How do you advise people to, implement a stable work-life balance? So, Mrs. A, would you like to go with the first question and give your closing remarks? Then Dr. Oni will also give his remarks and, and address both questions.
Absolutely. Okay. So let me start by saying I was an A-class student from primary to secondary. By the time I got to university, I was completely uninterested in continuing along those paths because, like I said, I'm an Ijebu girl, I like money. So while I was in university, I was interested in a number of other things. I was running like 2 or 3 businesses alongside, being a law student. I didn't even want to be an A-class student. I felt it was just, too much trouble. So, I just wanted to get by. I just wanted to get out of school and get a job. But there are a number of things, life-defining decisions that I took as a young lawyer as a young law student that I think have helped me to date. One of them was I was building my social network right from when I was a law student in school. The second one was I am a product of very good internships. So I started doing internships in my 200 level. I worked in DealHQ for I think about 2 years as an intern, and I built some fantastic relationships. One of them is I'm friends with Kunle Obebe today because we both worked in DealHQ, many years ago. I was a baby when I started working there. I think I was barely 18 years or so, right? I worked in Alex as an intern for 3 years. So I was building relationships. I knew the partners, and people are very, very affectionate to young people that want to open their arms, right? The kind of relationships I have with them is not what I would have had with them if I entered as an associate. Because you are their baby. Everybody embraces you as their baby. And those things helped me, right? They really helped me. So I mean, I started university. Let me say that I started university on a scholarship. I went to university on a scholarship. But I remember one day in my 400 level, I was having a conversation with my dad, and he was saying to me, oh, your sister made 2-1 from Ife, and you that you are a scholarship material, I'm sure you are going to make a first class. I just laughed. I said, this man, you don't even know that my grades are not anything close. So I knew I was going to finish with a second class lower, but I wasn't bothered, right? So of course I finished with a second class lower. I got to law school, and lo and behold, I even tried though. I played in university. I played, even me, I know, and the devil knows that I played. I got to law school, and I wanted to redeem myself and maybe try and make a first class for my dad. A day before criminal procedure, I took energy drink. Then I had some kind of emotional breakdown. I wasn't able to function, and I had an exam. And I remember going to the health center, and they told me they were going to inject me because I couldn't sleep. I hadn't slept for 2 days. I could not sleep, and I was just on this hyper. They said, we have to give you an injection so that you will sleep. I said, what? I will not write my criminal procedure. Never. I'd rather die. I went on, I wrote my criminal procedure. Of course, I finished with a pass. I'm not trying to say that that's the reason. It may not even have been connected, but I did finish with a pass in law school, which of course is very bad. In fact, even Alex did not give me a job after my NYSC because I didn't make the mark, right? So I mean that went. I remember when I went for my interview. So for like 9 months, I had a sterling CV in terms of experience, in terms of diversity and all of that. But I couldn't get a job for like 9 months. I couldn't get a job after school. And I remember when I went for my interview for the job I eventually got. And one of the reasons why I was given the job was because in those 9 months that I couldn't get one, I had settled in with a friend of mine who was working in the place where I did one of my internships, and had started a small law firm in Ikeja. And I paired up with him, and I was working with him, and I became the practice manager for a few months. Wow. In the few months that I was with him, I did my NYSC in NNPC. We got 2 transactions from NNPC while I was there, litigation transactions, 2 relationships. So, true. I mean, in my interview, we had conversations around some of this, and I did get the job because the firm overlooked my inefficiencies within, I mean, the inefficiencies with my grade and all of that. So is there a career path for someone who has not had the best grades in university? Absolutely, yes. Does it have to be starting your own law firm? No. There are some times that relationships would open the door that submitting your CV will not open. Having one-on-one conversations with people that are partners in law firms would allow them see the value that you bring beyond your grades. But what many people do is they will go and be submitting their CV with people that have first class from Harvard and first class from law school, and the thing is entering the same email account, and you expect them to shortlist you for an assessment. It won't happen. You have to be a bit more strategic, you know, for your own self. You have to look for ways to get into the door and demonstrate the value that you bring to the table. And when you are now given the opportunity, please, you have every reason to prove yourself. And sometimes you may even have to go to the not so desired place of work.
True.
But you can be in Nigeria and not have a Nigerian mindset. You can be in the village and have the mindset of someone that is in Silicon Valley, because you feed your mind, because you feed your intellect, and because you renew the way you think. But wherever you find yourself, ensure that you are the best of yourself. You owe that to yourself at every point in time. And so for us at DealHQ, we don't segregate on grounds of grade, because I know that value thrives in the most unlikely places. In the most unlikely places. So we try, our recruitment process is so thorough. We are looking for the you. We are looking at your commercial awareness. We are looking for your ability to think on your feet. We are looking for your ability to find solutions. We're not looking for whether you had the first class because you crammed section 44, subsection 3 and all of that. We are looking beyond, we are peeling the layers and trying to see who are you at your core. Do your values align with ours? So, I mean, let me not bore you so much. I think that you can still map a career path for yourself, even though, you know, all of us will not be first class students. And by the way, I mean, no disrespect.
Yes.
Some of the top law firms, there are people there that did not, I mean, absolutely no disrespect, but they are the icons of our industry today. They are leading change, leading innovation, putting Nigeria's name on the map in terms of legal services. Some of them had third class, some of them 2-2, some of them pass, but they're doing very well. I mean, but I understand that there will be systems to screen out the number because everybody cannot get a job in a leading firm. So how do you disrupt that system and sell the value that you have to these organizations if that is what you desire? Now that's a question for you to answer. I've told you how mine worked out, but you need to find out what will work for you.
Yes.
But don't stop believing. Don't stop believing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Mrs. A. Do you have a closing remark, or is that all you have to offer for today?
Okay. No. I'll just say thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed sharing with you guys. And I actually do need to run along now. Thank you so very much. I hope
Thank you so much for your time,
to add value and to share my own life experiences. Thank you, everyone that joined
Thank you so much, Mrs.
and bye for now.
Bye, Mrs. A. Dr. Oni, over to you. How would you address these questions?
Yeah, Tosin made very valid points, very interesting. I'll try not to repeat them. But first, be different. Have a strategy. Now, alluding to the point she made around some of the top lawyers making 2-2s and pass. I know lawyers who made pass, third class, and are employing Harvard graduates today. So it's a bit of a funny thing. Yes, I mean, I think I had excellent grades, but that's not for conversation today. And I mean, maybe that hasn't even played any major role in what I've been able to.
Dr. Oni, please, it's very important that we want
I'm going somewhere.
Express. So, okay.
Yeah.
We're having a heart to
heart. I think it's important. Yes. I think it's important to have
be as honest as possible.
Yeah, I think it's important to have good grades. They give you the opportunity to get at the door or get into the door or get into the premises, depending on how you want to put it. However, it doesn't guarantee that you sit on the table in the long term. It doesn't guarantee that you'll be amongst the leading lights. It doesn't guarantee that you make the top 1%. So I did write down some things. Now, first thing is strategy. You must plan. You must have a plan. You must have a strategy. Even our God is a God that plans, that does have strategies for doing different things. So you must have a strategy. And my own strategy might not be yours. I told you about writing books. I think so far I've written 4 books.
Wow.
I'm writing a 5th book at the moment. Yes. One of my theses was a book. I wrote my first book on electric power. In January, I wrote 2 books, one on electric power, the other on gas, oil and gas. Now, what I do is practical stuff. I try to be different from everybody else. So I'm not writing theory. I'm writing transactional issues, how you do due diligence, how you review documents, what sort of documents, how you acquire assets, what you look out for. So that's different. Now, in terms of grades, where you don't have good grades, and I think my first job in a law firm was working with Templars. And to be honest, I think the grade did play a role in getting the job because they shortlisted me on the basis of my grade too, I believe. But if you then don't have the grades, and I know a lot of people who don't, and one of the things you could do is look for a niche, an area of expertise, and you would find firms that are not top firms, but are top in those areas. So I attended the University of Calgary for my LLM. I don't think it's top 20 in the world or top 50 in the world, It's quite top, but not top like an Harvard, the Stanford, any of those. But when it comes to energy, it's probably top 3, top 4 in the world. University of Calgary, when you talk about Dundee, Aberdeen, you probably talk about University of Calgary next, or the other one in the US. I can't remember the name now. So you look for a niche. And I did give this advice to someone, and I just because of confidentiality and all of that, the person sent me a long mail or a long message because the person now works in a top firm. I had this conversation, issues around grades and all of that. I said, you know what, look for a firm. You do the research yourself. Look for a firm where they've got expertise in certain areas. Now, the big firms probably are not even looking at. Develop yourself, write articles, let people know that you are very good or you are damn good at that thing. It's a matter of time before the law firms, the big law firms start come calling. By the time you are 5 years. And I said to people, your first 5 years, kill yourself. I don't mean literally kill yourself, but do whatever it takes.
Oh, I get that.
My first job, like I mentioned, was in Templars after NYC. I didn't even finish NYC when I got into Templars because they needed someone. And maybe my skill set plus my grades. And of course, the mercy of God is very important.
Yes, of
God's
course.
grace, because I mean, you may have sent your CV and someone may, for some reason, have not looked at it. Now, what I was going to say is that it's important as you start out, you ensure that you build your skills in an area. I'm not saying, and I said to people, a good energy lawyer is not one who knows section something of the Petroleum Act and all of that, but understands other areas of the law and how they might affect what you know. But you then become that aspect, but you must be broad-minded. And you develop your niche in that small firm. It's a matter of time. 5 years. Your first 5 years, kill yourself. I was going to say a story. My first job was at Templars. Now, Templars, by 9, then they would shut down the generator. There were times I'd have arrangements to remain in the office despite that. And I'll keep reading. There were books I read from cover to cover. When everybody else had gone in, I was still in the office reading, ensuring that I finished the opinion, ensuring that, every now and then you get criticism. I had a tough boss, but he was otherwise fantastic. I mean, Dayo Kusami was tough. I mean, those who work with Dayo now wouldn't understand. I thought I was a stellar performer, but he was still tough. He wanted me to do what someone who was 10 years at the bar would do. Now I look at some of the opinions I wrote when I was in Templars, and I'm like, I couldn't have written it much better. I had to write an opinion similar to something I wrote for Dayo 10, 11, 12 years ago. And it was very similar. Yes. So when people push you, it's don't assume they want to kill you. So start with a smaller firm that isn't probably amongst the biggest, but it's they've got expertise. Every now and then, and I tell you stories. I've worked in firms where they say, oh, we need someone who is damn good in this area. And it's a very small firm that's got expertise. There are certain firms now, if you want to do capital markets, beyond the big firms, you consider them, particularly if you can't put from any of the big firms, you then consider them. I wouldn't want to mention names, but yes, energy.
Dr. Oni, I'm so sorry to interrupt because we're working with time. I think we have to round off.
Okay, that's fine.
And what I would like you to round off on, because you said earlier, kill yourself. Yes, you meant that not literally. Are you basically asserting to the fact that starting out as a lawyer, work-life balance is actually going to be more of work than whatever life you have left? Is there really a balance at the beginning?
Unfortunately, that's my view. It's difficult, it's tough, but that's what it looks like, because your first 5 years is the make or mar, in my view. You either make or mar your future at that point. That's what I think. They're late starters, but more often than not, your first 5 years, no time to play.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Oni. Thank you so much for this time. We really appreciate you. And apologies for the mix-up earlier with calling you Mr. I noticed that I made that mistake at the beginning.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm still Mr.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate this.
Yes. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, so we have had the first session on commercial practice, commercial law, and how it's, what it takes to be a commercial lawyer as a young lawyer. And I think they have addressed a lot of things that it's just so, it takes a while to digest. But let's move on to the next session. We have this who is a good friend and a mentor. I respect him, and a lot of times I have to go back to his page, read through his achievements and go, man, I still have a long way to go. I'm happy to have Senator Ihenyen with us here today, and he will be talking about, at the basic level, technology law, fintech, Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and all those things. And, you know, I love the fact that Senator is a tech guy to the core. You know, we tech guys, I'm so sorry, Senator, I should have gotten my own turtleneck. I'm planning to get mine later this week, because I've noticed that this is the tech thing. You know, you see Fisayo, Fosudo, everybody has their own turtleneck. So I'm sorry, I will definitely make sure to get my own turtleneck. Thank you for making our time, Senator. It means a lot to me, Senator, to have you here and to, you know, moderate this session with you. And I would just like to, you know, address, thank you so much. I'd just like to let the audience know who you are, for those who might not know. Senator is the lead partner at Infusion Lawyers. A lot of us would have heard of Infusion Lawyers, that new, you know, startup tech firm that is innovative in their views and their approach to solving problems. Senator also happens to be the current president of the Stakeholders in Blockchain Technology Association of Nigeria, for short CBAN. And that is an association that tries to just create, you know, regulations around how people use or work with blockchain and smart contracting in Nigeria. Senator, there's a lot of questions to ask you, but let's just first start with the obvious one, which I asked the entertainment/tech lawyers yesterday. Why is it that a lot of our colleagues hear tech law and they just think, are you guys not joking around? Are you sure you guys are not just playing? Why don't they take us seriously? And if you feel otherwise, what is your view on being a tech lawyer in this generation?
All right, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very happy to have met other co-speakers. You know, persons like Dr. Oni also speak to the young lawyers here. Very quickly, I find your question very interesting, because being a tech lawyer is unlike when people say I'm an entertainment lawyer or some other lawyers. Tech lawyers appear to, they appear to enjoy, at least relatively, more respect than when you bring up some other certain areas of law. Technology law is growing fast, you know, and it is an area that will keep growing, because it's a sector that technology cuts across every sector and industry. And so the opportunities in tech law, they are pretty vast, right? So, you know, when you talk about those in the petroleum sector, for instance, you're looking at the oil and gas industry, basically, and all of that. But when it comes to technology law or technology, it cuts across every sector, including energy, oil and gas, you know, health, agriculture, mention it. So yes, I have been in programs where people ask you, how can I become a tech lawyer and all of that? And I found one response I got at some point very interesting. One of the speakers at the program answered saying, there is nothing like tech lawyer. You're a lawyer, you're a lawyer. There's nothing like tech lawyer. And according to that person, you shouldn't also go around saying you're a fintech lawyer. There's nothing of such. Everyone is a lawyer. All these millennials just try to, you know, look different without putting anything in there. I would like to disagree with such, you know, approach to this issue, because for a lawyer like me, all right, relatively I'm a young lawyer, of course. I do not think that having that generalist approach to law practice is the best, especially now, because we're at a time when clients expect you to have a sound understanding of their business, the industry that you work, and all of that. And so if you're a lawyer servicing clients in the fintech industry, you know, servicing clients in the health tech industry, and other industries that are pretty technology intensive, then you don't want to think that you can bring that generalist approach and then you expect that you can provide solutions competitively. It won't happen. You have to, like Dr. Oni was saying, you also have to have some level of specialization. So that's where tech law comes in. And there's a lot of mix-up between tech law, legal tech, and all that, you know. Legal tech, of course, is application of technology to solving problems in the legal industry. So if you talk about law practice management software and all of those other guys that play in that space, trying to enable law practice or solicitor work get better, that's tech, that's legal tech. But when it comes to tech law, you're actually looking at the application of law in every area that involves the use of technology. And so if you look at the fintech sector, you see the role, the critical role that lawyers are playing in the fintech sector. If you look at the health sector, where we now have what is called health tech, you see how lawyers are also advising in the areas of data practice, data privacy and data protection and all of that. If you leave there and go to other industries, you find that increasingly tech lawyers are being needed. Think about Facebook, think about Amazon, think about Twitter, WhatsApp, all of them, Flutterwave and Paystack. They increasingly need lawyers who understand tech and all of the things that go around there. And a lot of tech also involves, apart from the specific law or legal issues, you find that in tech law, you find a lot of work in the policy and regulation space, which is an area where I also play from time to time. So so that I don't take too much time answering that question, I would just like to recap by saying that tech lawyers, relative to other newer areas of law, they get to actually enjoy some level of respect in the industry, especially by clients who understand the value they are bringing to the table. If there is any discrimination against tech lawyers, I think it's been mainly from the conventional lawyers, who are sometimes mostly senior lawyers or seniors at the bar, who believe that you can't come into the industry and disrupt this stuff. There's a way we've been doing it. It has to be that way. If it's not that way, you are not a standard lawyer or all of that stuff. So I think, but increasingly, they too are changing their orientation. If you look around you, many of the traditional law firms back in the 80s, 90s, they were founded even earlier, even as early as the 60s. If you go to their websites today, you will almost think that they are startup law firms who just got established yesterday. So no one should be deceived that tech law is not serious business or tech lawyers are jokers. While they are calling you jokers, they are taking your jobs behind you. So you have to focus and know what you're bringing to the table.
So sorry, Senator, my name is Zikora. I am one of the technical leads for the Grey Discourse.
Hi guys.
Okay, David, Joshua is back. Thank you. We apologize.
I am so sorry. It's very embarrassing to call myself a tech lawyer and be dealing with just daily network issues. I have been struggling with my network user, and they call themselves smartphone network, but let's not address that. Let's continue. Let's continue, please. I know I asked the first question and you were already addressing it as to how, perception as a tech lawyer, and I lost you at that point. But if every other person heard you, you could just round off and I move on to the next question if you don't mind.
All right. So basically I was saying that when it comes to perception of tech law and the value you bring to the table, it's something that we need to have an objective view about. Being a tech law, I look at many LinkedIn profiles today, and I see everyone trying to say, I'm tech law, because that's the in thing, so to say, but there has to be some originality about it as well. There has to be some authenticity so that there is credibility. there's a way you put your profile out there. And if you don't have the substance, there's no way a LinkedIn profile will save you. So I'd like to say that it's good you put in the work as well. And while you were away, I was saying that a lot of people, actually, those in tech law, who are really in tech law, they understand that they actually enjoy a lot more recognition amongst their clients. You know, where we have some discriminatory tendencies in the legal industry is how certain seniors, you know, at the bar might view or conceptualize the idea of a tech lawyer, you know, and that is very understandable. There's a generational gap, which I believe as the market continues to deepen and as the emerging technologies begin to become adopted across board, many of these senior lawyers will also join the train. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the most senior lawyers will begin to change their profiles and say they are tech lawyers.
Yes, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. So it's a process, and it's all about structures.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction. I think that's one of the most important things you have stated. Don't just talk the talk, but walk the walk. I'm sorry, but we have to shake some tables today. Being a tech lawyer is not just knowing how to use Zoom and other video conferencing platforms. You need to know the nitty-gritties of being a tech lawyer. And that's what we're going to address today, Senator and I. Senator being my oga, of course. Now, one of the first things that we have to address is the regulatory wahala. That's what I tagged that session as. How do we as lawyers play a better role or a more significant role in, you know, serving as the middleman between the regulators and the players in the sector? So you have clients that call me, Joshua, what's this new rule that has come out again? Joshua, what's this new thing that has come out? How does that affect me as a tech client? How does that affect my business? And sometimes in the actual moment, I don't have an answer. But I can't tell him I don't have an answer. So I tell him, you know what? We're going to send you an evaluation report on Monday. We're going to send you an analysis report, a legal opinion, whatever, call it. We just have to find solutions. So how do we as lawyers serve as the middleman between the regulators and the players in this tech space?
All right, that's a very, very vital question. And it is one that many young lawyers struggle with, especially because we've not been privileged as a generation to meet structures on ground regarding how to be more participatory in policy development or policy formulation. You know, perhaps because of Nigeria's past in terms of being a military system for many years, the structures are not there. All right. So when it comes to policy and regulations, I always tell everyone who cares to listen that it's something that it needs a national strategy, a national orientation, you know, a national vision about what we want to achieve in different sectors. Unfortunately, we've not been very lucky to have very visionary leaders. And so there's always that gap in terms of where we are and where we are supposed to be as a nation. And policy and regulations, this is a critical area that we need to sort out one way or the other. I haven't seen a lot of lawyers play in this space, all right? I haven't seen a lot of lawyers play in the policy and regulation space. Yes, I'm aware that there are such as the committees under the NBA. I'm sure that there is a legislative committee and all of that, but there has not been that consistency. The structure hasn't been really strong. How do lawyers come in here? At a very, very early stage in my career, I understood that lawyers need to play an ecosystem builder role. Very early. I understood that very early, that as lawyers, we're not just coming to the table to take. We're also not coming to the table to be fire brigades, you know, just waiting at the litigation hand. When there's fire in the house, you can't put it off. and then may God help you. Perhaps you could put it off in the next 10 years, right? So that's what it's been. But in the policy and regulation space, right, it's a different approach. And how do you play in that area? As a young lawyer, you need to position yourself. First of all, you start with orientation. You need to see yourself as a solution provider. You know, you can't be part of the problem. As a professional and one who is educated and learned, you need to see yourself from the point of view of bringing solutions to the table. So wherever areas you play, whether you play in the fintech sector, whether you play in the health sector, whether you play in sports, in entertainment, in energy, you have to see yourself as a professional bringing solutions to the table.
Solution provider.
And if the table is not there, I tell people, if you don't see the table, because in a country like Nigeria, where there are no structures, there will be no tables. There will be no tables. No one has guaranteed you a table, unlike your counterparts in the UK or in the US. So sometimes you have to build that table. This is where lawyers need to be ecosystem builders. You have to create platforms. All right, so that I bring this home. Sometime in 2017, I felt that there was need for some policy and regulations regarding blockchain and digital assets, right? This was a time when the CBN had just released its first love letter to the industry, to the banking and financial industry about, what's it called, crypto assets or cryptocurrencies being the baddest thing you ever find on earth, and why you should stay clear of them, you know, all those kind of stuff. I understood that there was need for help in this area. At some point, I was able to, along the line, while advising clients on this area, clients came together and said, Senator, why don't we start an association where we can have a self-regulatory approach to blockchain and cryptocurrency adoption? We looked at that, and then Stakeholders in Blockchain Technology Association of Nigeria was formed. I didn't found it, but I was part of those who joined early on. And I served as their legal advisor. And in that capacity, I was asked to come in as a vice president of policy and regulations, you know, and that year, we were able to do some work, you know, even with the Securities and Exchange Commission, you know. So what am I saying? There's a way that you can influence policy and regulations if you create that table or you join a round table where you have a round table with other ecosystem stakeholders about the future and all of that. And this can be duplicated. You know, if you go to, a lot of people talk about the venture capital markets in Nigeria. Can you imagine where fintech industry in Nigeria would be today without the venture capital industry?
Can't. They are basically the backbone.
Exactly. So even though I think that there are still structural issues, critical structural issues that need to be sorted out, I think that it's great that, you know, we have people in that sector setting up stuff. I was going through the what's it called now? The statement released by the Securities and Exchange Commission recently about the deadline for persons who are involved in crowdfunding to come forward and register as crowdfunding intermediaries and all of that. Otherwise, they will face sanctions and all of that. I saw that like 2 days ago. And
for June 30th.
Yes. And I saw that and I was wondering, all right, I wish that there are more lawyers in the space who could help in this area. If you look at the crowdfunding rules by SEC itself, there's a part that says that they allow self-regulatory bodies or associations to come forward. So while some of us are home crying about Josun and all of that stuff, I don't see why some of our lawyers cannot, you know, come together and say this is one area where there seem to be some gaps in policy, in regulations. How can we, bring some value into the market? Exactly. It's when you contribute that you get back.
Yes.
Policy and regulations is a lot of work, I have to say. It's not, the older generation, they accuse my generation and perhaps yours as well of being, they just want fast money. They keep saying, we want fast money. We are not patient.
They tell us that law is not all about the money. You must first
Exactly.
grow. Yes.
Exactly. So I'm re-emphasizing that, but with some qualification. That really it takes time. You have to give it time. It's a process. When playing in the regulations and policy space, it's a process. I mean, I've been part of CBAN since 2017. I'm yet to buy a jet, even though when I walk around, especially when I'm in the media, here and there representing CBAN, I was in a place where they said, "Do you know that guy is the president of all Bitcoin owners in Nigeria?" I'm glad I haven't been kidnapped. So my point is, you have to give in the work first. The work has to go in, all right? And just so that you understand why it's good to also be part of policy, it doesn't necessarily take you away from your work as a lawyer, all right? I have to tell you this. Some of the work I have done in the policy and regulation space with others, I've had to kind of impact on my legal practice one way or the other. Because when people want the lawyer who provides the solution in that area, they naturally just feel, okay, go to senator is the authority in that area, right? So one way or the other, it still comes back to your practice. I know people like Beverly, that's the son's daughter. Yes.
She was one of our speakers yesterday.
Policy and regulations work in the sports industry, all right? Yes, and by so doing, I know that OAL will be attracting some sports brief as well because of our role in the policy space. So if everyone here can say, all right, my area is this, which association or which table can I be part of? Contribute to the policy and regulations work. And then maybe one way or the other, I would be able to strategically, also project my work as a legal professional. At the end of the day, will impact on my profitability. That's a very big possibility, right? So that works.
Thank you so much, Senator. You have addressed the fact that we can't just keep complaining about government making irrational regulations without playing our part as lawyers to make sure we have made suggestions, created, structure. I like that word, self-regulatory. So when they see that there are existing platforms that present ideas for them, maybe they will be properly guided. We hope they will be properly guided, but at least they have the excuse for now that we are not doing anything ourselves.
Exactly. And the brilliant thing about that, when the policy makers eventually want to get serious, they come to you and say, okay, we saw your contributions last year. We are now about to do this. How can we do this together?
They'll see a structure on ground. They'll see a structure on ground. Just like you said earlier, creating an ecosystem and solving solutions with that ecosystem. I take that very seriously. Now, this is something we have discussed personally because, as I already said, I'm not here to farm you. I'm just here to state facts. On a personal note, some months back, when I reached out to you, you made a very big point that I took and, I did my research on, and we have decided to, imbibe it as a principle at Allen & Brooks, productivizing our services. So as tech lawyers, there is so much abstractness to what we do. Even our service as a whole, as lawyers, is very abstract already. So now as a tech lawyer, it seems like, what are you actually offering? Is it out of thin air? What am I seeing? How do we productivize our services so people can see value? They can see tangibility to what I am bringing to the table. Because as you said earlier, sometimes you even have to create the table.
Yes, I know that you are one bad moderator. You are eating the point so well.
I do my best. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think the point you've raised is critical, especially for young lawyers. I have met a lot of young lawyers. Back in 2016, 2015, I was the acting secretary for the Young Lawyers Forum, Ikeja branch. And during those days, I used to tell all of our people back then that yes, it's one thing to know what you do and know how to do it well. It's one thing to have a service and say you are really good at it. But what about projecting what you do? How do you handle that part? I always say that there is need for structure in the market. I read an article today, a very sad one, about how young lawyers are becoming Okada riders and whatever during this period because of what's going on. You know, lawyers going into other jobs because of what's happening right now. You know, and it's very sad. The thing is this, like you said, our service is very abstract inherently. There's nothing you can do about it. We provide a very abstract service inherently. People, you need to explain so much to convince people about what you do, especially when you're in areas like intellectual property. You are done for.
Exactly.
So
it's so intangible.
Yes, it's intangible. People want to hold something, especially in this part of the world. What are you talking about? So it's easier to sell a smartphone than selling a legal service. And so some legal service marketers outside this country, they've come up with the concept of productivization, which you mentioned, meaning how can you turn an intangible and abstract idea or concept to a tangible or concrete idea or concept. And so you can quickly move from being this abstract lawyer whom no one knows what he sells to a lawyer whom you just go to their platform, you just find all of the service already productivized, meaning the same way you buy a smartphone off the shelf, you can buy a legal service off the shelf. And I have seen a lot of law firms, try to experiment this with relative levels of success. And I think that it's something that is going to sell or do well in a country like Nigeria. We already have legal tech, not law firms now, legal tech platforms that provide such productivized services. And you find that they are selling better because people don't have time. So rather than saying we do corporate, you go to someone's website now, a law firm, and they say we do corporate service. What do you call it? Corporate law? What is corporate law? What's corporate law? The guy who wants to start a startup or whatever does not care what corporate law is. Exactly. He just wants to come to your website, click on something, and register a company. So you find legal tech platforms productivize corporate law, at least that aspect of corporate law, and say, start a law firm or buy this package. They say this package, that's the language. So if you buy this package, you have free legal advice for 10 years. You have, you see,
that is creating a product. Yes,
exactly. You now put it in a package and sell. And this is one aspect that I think a lot of young lawyers get wrong. A businessman once told me, he said, Senator, the difference between, there's a big difference between trading and being in business. I said, what do you mean? Trading is buying and selling of goods and services. Being in business is also buying and selling of goods and services. He said, no, being in business comes with some level of brand. And I think this is one thing that if there are MBA people here, I'm also now a very strong member of the MBA by virtue of being the second vice chairman in the IP committee of the SBL. But I'm saying that those who drive the vision and all that at the top. They need to help. The one way they can help lawyers is to help lawyers build brands. Young lawyers are not doing very well when it comes to branding.
Building.
Yes, brand building. There are senior lawyers who, by virtue of being in the game for 40, 30, 20 years, they already relatively look like they've established a brand for themselves by virtue of the time they've taken to do their work and all that. But as a young lawyer, how do you compete in that kind of environment? The best way to do that is to brand. And productivization is a branding of your products and services. Now, as a professional, you have to be well branded. And a lot of young lawyers do not appreciate that level, especially when they are employees. There are employees who think that because they work for me, for instance, because you're an employee in Infusion Lawyers, I don't need to build my brand. I will just, I don't need. It's not a very good stuff, all right? These days, for you to be able to bring value to the table, even for your employers, especially in a COVID-19 period where the economy is biting so hard and people are being laid off, you want to be sure that you can bring something extra to the table. And so when I speak with my associates and all of them, they recognize that, yes, we want you to project the Infusion brand, but without you, there's no Infusion. So we also want you to be well branded. We want you to be good at what you do. We want you to project yourself individually with what you do and be able to complement the work that other associates do. We won't compete very well if we're all monolithic, just monochrome one way. It won't work. We're in a diverse space, so productivization.
Yes, I think one thing you just addressed, because we need to move on to the next question.
No, great.
You had even moved into the next question, which is in productivizing our services and selling it, just like that businessman told you, there's a difference between business and trading. How do we ensure profits? Because so far, my experience with the tech space is that a lot of times your startups are also looking for funding. So in most situations, you're not even getting the best retainer offer or professional fees. And that's just being truthful, because we're here to tell the young lawyers like myself that truthfully, if you're going to be a tech lawyer, you have to be patient too. The money is not fast. You have clients that call you to come and help them with pitches to investors. So at the beginning, you're not earning much. You are working in, some of them, they come with equity. So that's one thing you should also always push for. You can own equity. I own equity in some of my clients' companies, and that's okay. There's no conflict of interest. That could be in, as opposed to retainer fees or professional fees. So how do we take these products that we have created and make money to keep the business and the operations of our firms or our individual practice running? What's the process? What's your advice?
Thank you for that question. Before I founded Infusion Lawyers in precisely April 2017, I worked with Chinua Suzu, who has been my mentor, especially when it comes to legal writing. I was with Assizes Law Firm in 2013 up to 2017. I was also with the Right House, all right? And some of the things I picked up there, or I learned during my own mentorship with Chinua Suzu, is that everything is a process and you need structures. Now, it's possible for a lawyer who was called to bar yesterday to make more money than a lawyer who was called to bar 10 years ago. All right, it's very possible. But, but that's not the question. That's just a result. What about the process? I am a process person. I feel that if you're doing well with your process, whether the result has come or not, you are already succeeding at it, if this process is right. If you get your process right, it's just a matter of time. So you just need to wait it out. But when it's all about luck, you're just waiting for luck or connection somewhere and all that stuff. That's where the variables get distorted. Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, moving from projecting yourself being branded, productivization, and all that concept. Moving from there to profitability is not an easy journey. For a lot of law firms that are established today, from Olaniwan Ajayi to Alex and Alukwano Ebode and all of the big, the first tier firms, I am sure that they had to go through a process and a structure. At some point there was no Alex. At the time, they needed to be Alex for something to happen. All right. So there are firms today, second tier firms, third tier firms, that were not in existence some years back. But because they needed structure and process, they needed to come together and keep the ball rolling and then wait for results. What am I trying to say? It's been about 4 years of Infusion Lawyers. And so that this is not all about theoretical talk, I will try to personalize.
It's very important. Your experiences are important for us to learn from this.
When I started Infusion Lawyers, I had just a logo. I just had an idea of what the law firm's logo should look like. And that kept me up night and day. I wanted to just bring out that imagination I had about a law firm that was flexible, that was techy, that was just futuristic about stuff and specialized, right? I wanted a firm that would play in the digital economy and knowledge economy. And so that was how I started. And I said, all right, for me to be able to make this happen, I have to find my path. And that was why I founded Infusion Lawyers. Now, after founding Infusion, the next thing was, all right, I'm the only one here. What's happening? I had to start looking at who is going to partner with me and why should they partner with me? Who is going to work with me and why should they work with me? So the first thing I did was to create what I call Fusion. Fusion is like a blue paper of the law firm. It's only shown to associates and partners of the firm, so that I would be able to sell my vision to whoever was coming. So from the day one, once you come in, you already see the path I'm going
that document.
Exactly. So if the good document, strikes some chord in you, then we can play. If it doesn't, then we can excuse ourselves and move on.
Aside.
All right. So that's how it started. And at some point, we found that first we needed to build more capacity. Now, capacity. This is about, we're going to profitability here.
I understand.
Right?
I understand.
Look at the process.
Capacity is important.
Very important. So, associates, what's happening? What area do we want to play in? Are we playing in oil and gas? No. Are we playing in electoral petition briefs? No. Where are we playing? This is where we are playing. We're playing in the information technology and intellectual property space, and some fusion of corporate law, necessarily because we have to advise on business structures and all that. And so, okay, if we are playing there, then we need to deepen capacity in this area, right?
Yes.
So all of the associates, we have to mobilize, capacity building, go get stuff, go get training, go do this, go do that. And there was no time. I said, you have to do this, you must do this, because this is what the law firm wants. It was about, okay, this is what you want to do, right? All right. Is it consistent with what we want to do here? Yes. So it was, for me, I was also lead partner. I didn't call myself senior partner. I've never seen myself as a senior to anyone at the bar. I think we are all just partners. So I said, I'm just leading here. So call me lead partner. I'm not senior partner. This is what you want to achieve, right? All right, go for this capacity building stuff in data protection and privacy. You go on intellectual property. That's what you're interested in. We invested in our people's capacity, and that needed process. It's not something you do overnight. It meant that we took a path saying, no, the money will come, but capacity first.
Let's build value.
It will take this long. We looked at the map, the roadmap. It will take this long, but still do it anyway. It's a process. So capacity building one side. Put that aside. We looked at branding and we said, hey, we will only be traders if we don't get branding right. Yeah, I don't want to be a trader. You know, people in Inewi, in Aba, mind you, some of them are making more money than we are.
True.
Yeah.
But they don't have a brand.
But guess what? If Baba Ogonna dies this evening, that business is dead tomorrow morning.
Dead. You're right. No
All
legacy.
Right? No legacy, no branding, nothing. It's dead. That's what you call classic trading. You're just trading. We also have, yes, I'm sorry to say this with all due respect, of course, to all of the members of the learned community. I've done some research in this area, and I find that a significant number of legal practitioners in the space, they are in trading. They are trading. They are traders. They are not businesses. They are traders. And that's why when COVID-19 comes, the effect is instant. When this comes, the effect is instant. We need to build on brands. So how do you build brand? Don't mind me. Don't follow me who just built a logo and left a firm. You need to focus on value. People talk about branding and then they get the best designers in town to do the brand, the law firm's color, law firm's logo, law firm's website, law firm's all that. But what about the law firm's personality? Who is talking about the personality of the law firm? That is the brand value of the firm. So what makes your law firm different from the other one? Is it because you are all yellow and my firm is all blue? Of course not. It's because there is some characteristics, there's some unique personalities that the partner or partners or members of the firm are bringing together, combining together to create a unique value, what you call unique a value proposition, or in the space. That's what it is. All that has to go to the brand of the firm. And that's what keeps the firm going when, after you've sent all your men on capacity building, there's no profitability. You begin to shake like, are you sure we can go on? Are you sure we're on the right track? Are you sure we won't become Uber drivers? That's because there is no core. We call it core. There is no core. When you look at the ship, when it's anchored, there has to be an anchor. Otherwise, it will be blown off. So you have to have an anchor. So when the tough gets really tough, you get tougher and say, these are our brand value. Our brand value is resilience. Our brand value is character. Our brand value is excellence. These are brand values. And you have to bring it in. That's branding. So branding needs to be strong. I've seen a lot of my fellow lawyers. Well, people tell me, saying, "So you're not a young lawyer anymore." Wait. I know what they say.
You're young at heart. As far as I'm concerned, you're young at heart.
Once you are 7 years at the bar, they say you are no longer a young lawyer.
You have got to the next level.
Yes, and based on the mathematics the MBA uses, at least when I was paying my bar fees this year, I was reminded that I was 10 years at the bar. I said, no, it's not true. How can I be 10 years at the bar? What's wrong with you people? Well, just yesterday, I was called to bar. So anyway, to cut that all that aside, the point is to move to profitability, capacity building is key. Yes. Branding is key. If you are not out there, how do you go out there? Of course, a lot of people have heard about legal content marketing, right?
Yes, I was going to have you address that in your closing remarks, because I know you are what we call the advocate for content. You understand the place of content being key, and that's the truth. The generation we live in, narratives tell or rule the market. So content is important. So in giving your, because we're working with time, in giving your closing remarks, address this issue of content, number one. And the question we have asked every other speaker: does the grade you come out with in school and law school really matter in the opportunities and the levels you can reach? So those are the two questions that we'll round up on. So let's have you start with content.
All right, great. Legal content marketing is key, as everyone knows. And I know that a lot of lawyers already know that. And that's what lawyers try to do when they throw out stuff on LinkedIn and all that stuff. But the contribution I would like to make to that, to enhance what you're already doing when it comes to legal content marketing is originality. I'm sorry to say, I see a lot of lack of originality when it comes to legal content marketing. I mean, from just reading the first paragraph of anyone's work, I could tell why this thing was written, already. There's no authenticity. There's no, you have to show character when you do some content writing. It shouldn't be so clear that you just want money at the end of the day. So you need to be original and authentic, right? And remember, there's a reason why you had to know your area in the first place, right? I started by saying that we had to know the area that any of our associates wanted to really focus on and then invest in capacity building in that area. It's the same way with legal content marketing. So you can't be doing legal content in an area where your capacity building does not even have any connection with. You can't be doing content marketing in an area where your brand is not consistent with. Everything is, it's all intertwined. So you have to be sure that you are doing content marketing in an area you are competent in, and you have branded yourself as. So that you don't try to catch all the fishes in the river. At the end of the day, you end up being irrelevant, right? Yes. So that's one thing.
Specialization, what I'm taking from that is that it's important to become a thought leader in a specific aspect of practice. Specialization,
right? So if you go to if you Google my works, mostly you find that they are around intellectual property, information technology, privacy, blockchain. These areas are intertwined.
Data protection.
Economy.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's what we expect. If you find me writing on oil and gas tomorrow, know that I've read too much of Dr. Oni's work. So that's it. On the other question,
the grade, yes, it's very important. Grade. And before you address it, the premise for everyone really getting this question, off their plate is a lot of people come out of law school with the issue of I have been put to a death sentence if I don't make a 2-1 or a first class. So how do we address this? A lot of speakers have spoken for the past 2 days on how they feel back and forth, but we want you to give your experience.
It's a sad reality that is the case, right? But I'll tell you something. When I got my first job with Chinua Suzu back in the Right House on the Sizes Law Firm, very, very early in 2018 or late 2012, something happened. Throughout the time I went there for an interview, and after I got the job, and even when I was doing the job, and by the time I left, the law firm never saw my certificate once.
What?
Once.
I'm confused. You were a lawyer, but they did not care about your results. Is that what you're saying?
The law firm, I was working in 2 firms owned by the same person. The Right House, which is very known for its excellence when it comes to legal writing, not just in Africa, but across the world. I was also with Assizes Law Firm, a very competent law firm, especially in the tax area. Now, none of these firms ever asked me, what was your grade? Or let's see your certificates, whatever.
Wow.
By the time I left Assizes Law Firm in March 2017, I was already offered a partnership.
Wow.
So the question is, for me, I know that there are discriminations here and there about what you had in school and all that, and it affects a lot of young lawyers. But please, if you're a young lawyer and you're facing that kind of circumstances, please just know this. You are not a third-class graduate. You are not a second-class graduate or and all of the 2-2 graduates, except you say so. That's it. This is it. You failed in school does not make you a failure. It is your academics. Your academics is a project work, and you failed. You failed in your academics, right? It doesn't mean that you are a failure. You have to separate your personality from an event. You go to school, it's an event. You go for a course, it's an event. you go for any of the stuff you go for, they are events.
Yes.
Events are not the same as the personality involved in the events. You have to take yourself away from the scene and do a real reevaluation. For me, right? I think, and I'll advise this: you have to focus on yourself, your capacity. There's something Professor Ndubisi Ekekwe says. Some of us know him. He says that it is not the result that matters. It is the process that led to the results. So for instance, if you came out with a third class because while you were in school, all your processes were third class processes, then indeed you're a third class person. But if you were in school, you did all the work, you did what you were supposed to do, but one way or the other, perhaps you didn't just get what you wanted. It doesn't mean that the results should question the process. The process is a first-class process. The process is a second-class upper process, where it got you a result of a top class or whatever, perhaps Nigerian factor, perhaps spiritual factor, village people, I don't care. But it is process. So if you know that back in school, you got your process wrong, then indeed we should question what you've done. So my advice to those category of persons, you need to start again. You need to go back to the drawing board, check what you did wrongly, and see how you can correct those processes and start again. I'm not asking you to go back for LLB. I'm saying create a new path for yourself.
Yes.
For those
reorient yourself.
Exactly. For those who got the process right, first class process producing top class, or second class upper process producing 2-2, stop doubting your ability. Stop killing yourself. That was an event. Your being in University of Benin, Unilag, Harvard was an event. Take yourself away from it. You are a first class person. You are a second class upper material. Get it and do what you have to do. Don't let those things hold you back. It is when you think about those stuff, you go through an interview and you fail. Why won't you fail?
Because you already have a mindset.
A long time ago.
Yes.
You started a long time ago. So there are brilliant guys in the market. Some of the associates I've worked with, they are not, some of them, they are not, I've seen first class associates join us, but they are not all first class. And as a matter of fact, they're not all 2-1 students, but they are brilliant at what they do. So that's what the focus should be about.
Thank you so much, Senator. It's been welcome. A wonderful session, and I would always love your advice and appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. On the personal note, I really appreciate you. Thank you for making our time too for this insightful session.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of the session if you decide to stay.
Oh, of course I will. I'm always learning.
Thank you so much. As I always say yesterday and even today, we have to always open our minds up and be students of life. And that was what I was going to round off with what he said. Whether you came out with first class, third class, second class, always come back to reality that you're a student of life and stick to that reality. I am a student of life, not just school. Now off to our final session for the program, the 2-day program and today's events. We have Emmanuel Faith, who will be taking us through the process of how to, have a structured CV. Because our target audience, I said target market, I'm still thinking of productivization. Our target audience is, the upcoming lawyers, the lawyers that are yet to see their bar finals, whichever position or role you fall into. Most important thing is you want to have a structured and standard CV that can help you stand out when you're job hunting. And not just for job hunting, CVs go a long way. I would like to say that I recently closed a good deal for Allen & Brooks. And what the client asked for that closed that deal was asking for the CV of the partners. It was unprecedented for me. I never knew that was a thing. But I had to send the CV of myself and my co-partners. And a week later, we got the deal. So believe me, your CV goes beyond just job hunting. It serves as your virtual, it's that document that precedes you. It serves as your reputation where you are not, it speaks for you. So Faith Emmanuel, I'd just like to, introduce Faith Emmanuel. Faith Emmanuel is the lead at People and Culture at Cowrywise. He is an employment skills trainer. And he's going to be here today to just take us through how we can do better at our CVs and, grow in proper, presentation of ourselves as professionals. Hello, Faith, are you with us?
Hi.
Hi. Please correct me. Is your first name Faith or Emmanuel? Let me be sure which one I should call you.
Faith.
How should I address you? Come again?
Faith.
Faith. Okay, Faith, nice to meet you. It's really a privilege to have you here with us today. Faith,
thank you.
You're in a gathering of lawyers and you're the one speaker that we are having in this 2-day session that is not a lawyer. So please address us and let us understand what we can learn from an expert like you that has, built a standard reputation in the, in the marketplace as an employability expert. Believe me, a lot of lawyers in recent times have been reaching out to people like you. People are the ones dropping our money now, teaching us how to be better at presenting our CVs. So please take us through how we can be better employable as lawyers. And as I said, it's not just about employment.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so well, maybe a bit of correction or maybe a bit of mix-up, I don't know. I was actually supposed to speak on landing your dream job. So yeah, maybe I would touch on, having a captivating CV or something, but the topic I was given was landing your dream job.
Oh, that's fine, because what we put as the, the session topic is CV masterclass, but that's fine. That's still, it's still in the place of landing your dream job. I understand that because you have to have a CV to land your dream job. So in addressing landing your dream job, please address CV building.
Sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe I will spend a couple of times speaking on that. Secondly, I've also noticed that the session has been like a Q&A. Right. I'm kind of used to a session where I present and I take questions at the end.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. We can have it your way for this session because we have dealt with all the Q&As with the lawyers. So if you want to go ahead and just present, we will mute and listen to you. As I said, we are all here to learn.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, please permit me to share my screen then. Thank you.
Be our guest.
I think someone has to grant me permission or something.
Yes, can we have permission for Faith to present? The host should please permit him to share his screen.
Okay, I'm on it. Just give me a minute. I'm on it.
Thank you, Zikora.
I'm coming. Please 1 minute.
Okay, that's fine.
Just 1 minute. For some reason, I think you should just have to click. You have to do that yourself.
Okay.
Because I don't see anything that I have to do here. You have permission to share your screen. Can you share?
So I'm having host disabled participants sharing screen. So I think you have to go to your settings.
So if he's still having that issue, then the host has not permitted others to share their screen. That's what it means.
So you have to permit like participants to share. Go to settings, then go to participants, and then
Faith, you can share now.
You can share now.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, I can. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So please confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, I can, and I believe others too can.
Okay, fantastic. So hi, learned colleagues. My name is Emmanuel Faith. I write my name either way, but my first name is Faith. And yeah, most of the time, it always happens that I'm like the non-law guy in a legal gathering. It has been like that since when I was in final year in uni, when I won my first competition in tax. I was like the non-law student, winning a competition in tax. So I'm used to being that guy. Okay, so I've learned a lot from the speakers that spoke today. I've been on session since 3 p.m. and I must say that my legal knowledge, has been, is it enriched? Yeah, that's the right word to use. So I'm supposed to talk about landing your dream job and that I put how to work with the best and end the best. Because if there is a discussion in the legal space that I'm pretty familiar with, is how, lawyers have been underpaid and all that. So I'm just going to move on. So my last speaker, it touched on how the legal space is more about value and not necessarily about grade and all that. And that was really like my opening paragraph, right? So either it's the tech space or finance space or legal space, every employer is looking for a value-adding employee. And while you think, because I sit in a space where I am always recruiting, either for the organization I'm working with or for different side projects here and there, people are continuously looking for outstanding talent. And it is your own duty to position yourself as an outstanding talent. And I'd said here that the more value you can add, really, the more employable you become. And like that's on period. If you follow this guy, and your law official. Okay, yes. So ab initio, what's the plan? I'm very sure we're all familiar with ab initio. Another thing, because I'm always conversing with my friends in the legal space, another thing I've noticed is that as a graduate, like as a recent graduate in law, your options are pretty streamlined. Your first goal is that you want to do your NYSC at Banwo Ighodalo or Alukan or your birthday so that you'll be, you want to do your graduate training there. So that when you go for law school, you'll come back to your externship, and then when you want to serve, you are retained there. So, what's your wildest dream, right? Do you dream of working with White and Case? Do you want to, work as a policy person with TikTok? Do you want to work in the legal team of GE? What is really your wildest dream, right? And then, what do you do every day, every week, every month that takes you a step closer to those dreams? I had a friend, his name is Akitunde Agumbiade. There was a time that he did a 90 days challenge where I think he wrote an article every day on artificial intelligence. If you Google his name now, if you type his name, Akitunde Agumbiade in Google, the first 10 tabs that you're going to see are like his global publications in different, papers around the world, different institutions around the world. And it's just one guy that played from AU that is in law school and doesn't even know what his results will look like, right? So what do you want to do every day or every week or every month that will take you that step closer? Then I know the first two speakers that talked a lot about skills. I think that's Dr. Ayodele Oni. I didn't get his name right. So like what's the
Dr. Ayodele Oni.
Ayodele Oni. Thank you very much for the correction. Thank you. So what are every lawyer has certain skills, ability to write well, to communicate well. So what differentiates you, right? Are you that lawyer that can also crunch numbers such that when maybe there is a merger and acquisition deal, you are the guy that they are going to in the commercial space? Are you the guy that knows about everything going on in the world such that when there is a case, when there's a new case, you are like the go-to guy because they know you're up to date about that case and you can easily draft a legal brief that is convincing, yeah? So what skill do you need to acquire? Who do you need to connect with? If I know anything about lawyers, and then you guys can easily correct me right now, is that you guys are very big in connecting with people. There is this dinner and that dinner. I think my network keep expanding because I'm always attending one law gathering or the other, right? So I think I've met graduates across board. So who do you need to connect with? You are trying to build a career trajectory in the IPL space. Who do you want to connect with the IPL space? You are trying to position yourself for ADR opportunities. Who do you need to connect with in the ADR space? What cause do you need to champion? So this is 21st century and, people are pro something. SDG is becoming more practical than theoretical. And then 7 out of Nigerian, 10 Nigerian youths is championing a cause. So what cause do you want to champion? Is it gender equality? Is it diversity and inclusion? Yesterday was World Menstrual Day. What cause exactly do you want to champion that aligns with your career trajectory? Because the thing about, landing your dream job, I'm going to spend some time talking about CV or cover letter, is that it is an aggregation of all these things that then gets you to where you want to be. I've seen people who send in application and stuff, and because a partner had seen that they published a paper or a partner read a post they had written just randomly on LinkedIn, the partner says, so I want to speak with this guy. I remember when I was still in the tax space, there was this recent graduate of a federal university I will not mention, that was trying to get an internship with the organization I was working with. And I exactly did not know how to pitch this guy because at that point, from a workforce planning perspective, we did not need an intern, right? So I said, oh, do you know what? Just shoot a DM at one of our managing partner. And the guy did. And, my partner just went through his LinkedIn and saw a couple of articles and, he was called in for an interview the next day and he got the job on the spot. So landing your dream job is really an aggregation of different efforts, writing, championing different courses, and things like that. And the last point here is, what's your career trajectory? So again, within your, immediate year of graduation and your maybe 5 years post-bar, except you are, I don't know, maybe angels revealed to you. Most times people are just trying one thing or the other, but some people are very clear that they want to do litigation and that's what they want to do. Some people are very clear that they want to do commercial law and that's all they want to do. But the way Nigerian crime is structured is such that for the first 1 or 2 years, you're really just laying your hands on everything and trying out, which one works. So it's very important that you determine and you are deliberate about how you want your career trajectory to pan out. And then I've put this pretty lady here. Some of us might know her or not. She's one of the people I look up to in the legal space because of her work, what she does with Dream Girl Global. And that's like one of the courses that you can champion. Yeah, okay, my Zoom is blocking this place. I've written here that the more the loopholes, the more the opportunities. We all know how incomplete Nigeria, legal space is, and even globally, there are a lot of loopholes, and then your duty is really just to position yourself to explore those loopholes and put yourself out there in terms of knowledge of those loopholes. Yeah, so I thought that this was going to be really conversational, and I was just going to ask us to discuss a couple of trending legal issues right now, but you could just drop in the chat box. What are like the trending legal issues in Nigeria and globally right now? Anyone, anybody? I would check the chat box. And like you can discuss if you are able to unmute yourself. Anyone? Just like mention random things trending in the legal space.
Okay, so while people are still trying to discuss, I would just like to suggest one: regulation of people in the tech space, as I was discussing with one of the earlier speakers. Regulation, regulations that are not stifling innovation. That's as regards Nigeria.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Someone just, thank you very much for your contribution. Someone just brought my attention to a product that we recently relaunched and how a part of the product might be trespassing a privacy policy. And I'm very sure that no one thought of that when we were building the product. We just wanted a product that, provided solution to couples and enabled couples to save and have a more financially healthy life. So thank you. That's really something. Any other one?
Okay, sorry, I'm going to go. If you think the product is breaching privacy policy, let's talk about it. I might work with that. That's one.
Okay, so maybe at the end, if I have enough time, definitely I would bring that back.
Okay, no problem. But something else I wanted to look at, especially in the legal space, everybody's confused about currently, there's a constitutional amendment going on. Yes. So we're very confused about, we don't know exactly the direction of the constitutional amendment. And they say they are going to scrap NYSC very soon. But one of the issues is that NYSC is written into the constitution. So if you're going to plan to scrap NYSC, you have to amend the constitution, which is not a very straightforward process. Other issues, we don't know again what CBN power is and what CBN power is not. We don't know the extent of CBN powers now. So CBN does everything from giving loans to buying. CBN just bought National Theatre. CBN is doing agri loans. CBN by itself is giving incentive for people that pay in dollars. So there's a lot of stuff that we have to deal with. Hello, Emmanuel Faith, are you still around?
Oh my God. Sorry, I was on mute. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible now. You're audible now.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was enjoying your gist about CBN. And I was just saying that I'm very happy that, we have people that are pretty current and they are following legal issues. The public do not know a lot about these things. And I'm always excited when someone in my circle just pick a topic that is trending and people do not know about and, write a legal opinion or legal perspective to this topic. Someone that I know does that a lot. I know David Akindoliwo does that a lot. I know Oluwaseun Ayosola does that a lot. It's always exciting if you can maybe, if not right, maybe do an IG live, do a YouTube video, do a podcast about these things and just let the layman know what's happening. The recent ones is in my screen still. Am I still sharing my screen?
No, you're not.
You have stopped sharing your screen, please. Can you go back to?
Okay. I'm supposed to enter my ID name.
Okay. Sorry. So let me just use the opportunity to make a small announcement. The sessions will be available. We are streaming live now on Facebook and YouTube, and we have a number of people there, but we are making sure that immediately we finish the session yesterday and the session today will be available. The recording will be available on our podcast, on our YouTube, and on our Facebook. And also you can catch up on our blog on everything that we're doing. We don't want to waste a lot of your time. So Emmanuel Faith, you still have the floor.
Okay, great. I'm even trying to, it's asking me for my YouTube. Sorry, I said YouTube. I'm used to watching YouTube. My meeting passcode and all that. Okay, great. So I just continue. So, we are talking about landing your dream job, and it's actually exciting to hear all these things happening and knowing that people know about.
You're just going to continue without sharing your screen? Is that the plan?
I've joined. I'm waiting for the meeting host to let me in. Okay, I think I've been accepted. Okay, great. So I can join my screen.
You'd have to mute both of them because you're getting feedback from both. So mute both your.
No,
I get you on two
just
devices
one
at the time. Yes.
Mute one device.
No, mute both of them because even if you mute the sound on one, it's still speaking from the other one. So do you get?
Okay. We're back to seeing his screen again.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
I'm not sure we're going to do it so that when you are unmuted, so one of your devices is giving output sound, even though you are muted. How do we do that now? I understand you have to be on two devices so you can easily. How do we do that? Do you get my point? So even though you're muted on one device, the other device is putting out sound of this you're speaking. So it will continue to be feedback. How do we address that?
Am I audible now?
Okay, you're audible and there's no more feedback. Thank you for that.
Great. Okay, yeah, thank you very much and pardon the interruption. So this is like a few trendy legal issues that followed keenly. I don't know if we heard about the Uche Monye versus Coming to America. There was a dispute on the IPL or the branding of, there was an infringement, right? Uche Monye had branded Ebuka in that very nice Ankara. I was going to find the picture, but I could not find it. And then Coming to America had used that same, exact design for one of their casts. And Uche Monye had come out and said that the producer of Coming to America did not acknowledge them or reach out to them. It's a really big thing. You guys can check it out. And then I don't know how many of us followed the Nike versus MSCHF and the Nax shoes that wanted to release a blood, blah, blah, blah. But that was really an exciting case that I followed too.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Great. And then there was the, Tobori versus Moabudu on Oloture. How many of us?
Yes, on the writing of Oloture.
Yes, that one was very mainstream.
Yes, it was very mainstream. And if you were even on Twitter, there's something that trended around that time about the person that wanted intellectual property for her puff.
Right.
I actually remember that someone else was reselling her puff and she felt that was infringement.
Yes, and she said it was an infringement of her rights, and lawyers were bending over themselves to show that puff is something that is somebody's intellectual property. Puff.
Industrial design. But let's not get to that today.
Okay, guys, let's come back home, right? So the whole idea is that having opinions. Again, opinions are opinions. It doesn't even mean they are right or wrong. It just means that they are fact-driven and they are expressed in ways that is convincing enough, or educate, or impress the audience or the public or wherever your target audience is. So it's always exciting to put yourself out there and put your opinion out there about things like this. Yeah, so maybe this is where I will now talk extensively about CV. And I use this opening line that HRs are not witches or wizards, because my friends, we're always fighting, right? Zeno is one of them. So I was in the tax space before, and I had friends that picked beef with me because I moved from tax to HR. HR are not witches or wizards, right? The duty of HR is to get the best candidates. And maybe that is why Vincent wanted me as part of the speakers. So I'm just going to talk a bit about CVs. Already, my opening line here was a CV. There are templates online, right? But very importantly is the fact that your CV should sell who you are before an employer meets you, right? So who are you? Your CV should be your best self, in documents, right? So I see people come and say it's 1 page something, it's 2 page something. And then my answer has always been the same. If you think that you can sell your best self in 1 page, then sell it. However, if you think you will undersell your best self in 1 page, then please write as much as possible. As an HR, I think that I would want to read the 3 pages or 4 pages of all your achievements than read a 1 page that undersells you. And that is my POV. I do not know if that is mandatory across board, right? That is what I've practiced over the last 3 years. And when I even take up, side engagements with other colleagues in a professional space, no matter the industry, we do not limit number of pages of CV. Sell your best self. Another important thing you should know about CV is tell your story in metrics and impact. And I'm just going to use exact scenarios. So say your bullet points, you have interned with, let me look for a commercial law firm. Which one is more commercial? Banwo Ighodalo. Yeah, so
Banwo Ighodalo, those are standard law firms.
Great, exactly. So you've worked with, you've interned with commercial, with Banwo Ighodalo, and you want to write what you did. So you wrote, I photocopied and, printed. Those are the first things you do as a part 3 or part 4 intern. 300 level, 400 level intern. So you had written, you photocopied documents, or whatever you did, you printed something, and then you had written down your bullet points, and then someone else has come and said, corporate archivists saddled with the responsibilities of documenting legal procedures for this litigation and this litigation. Both of you did the same thing. All you did was to photocopy cases and legal briefs and all that, but someone has sold himself or herself better than you, right? So always tell your activities in metrics and impacts. So what was the metrics? If it's something that is measurable, write the numbers. What was the impact you want, as because you did this, because you wrote a research? Some people at entry level, we do a lot of research, right? Sometimes the article that you wrote gives intelligence that wins a case. Write it there. Unless it's very confidential, you worked on this case, this article, and this article that provided business intelligence for this case. Another thing I want to talk about is the law of repetition. And this is very common to the legal guys, right? So you were the superstar in school. You won National Tax Club debates. But you started out by coming third. Your first stop was third position, OAU Tax Club. Then the following year, you had research more and you won second position, maybe Unilore Tax Symposium. Then finally, you now went to Unilag and showed them who is the boss, and then won National Tax Debate. If you won National Tax Debate, you do not need the second and third position again, right? And that is why you see that law students have like 4-page CV. You don't need the second and third position again because you've already won. That is what the recruiter wants to say. So first, I've talked about the fact that your CV is you selling your best self to an employer that you have not seen before. Secondly, I've talked about the importance of selling yourself in metrics and impact, very important. Then I've also talked about the law of repetition. Do not repeat things. If you intern in 4 or 5 firms and all the things you did were similar things, just write one bullet point across board. That's if it's mandatory. Sometimes you don't even have to write all the law firms that you've interned with. And I'm not even shading. You've interned with Banwo Ighodalo, you've interned with Alukano Ibode, you've interned with Templars, and then you've interned with Chike Imefuna and Sons. If it's unless you worked on one badass deal or that's when you are there, you do not have to put it on your CV. Remember that what you are trying to do is to sell your best self. I could go on to talk about, the formats. Maybe at the end, I'll just open a sample CV. The formats, be well aligned, use the same fonts all through. Don't use Time News Roman and the guy and use Cambria and use Georgia in the end, please. Ensure that your CV is well formatted. But if there's anything I would want you to remember about your CVs, when you are done drafting, can you employ yourself? Right? Always ask yourself, can you employ yourself? Okay, so I'm going to post on CV there. Maybe ask questions when I'm being asked questions. So what stands you out? Your CV, captivating cover letter, portfolio, award-lady LinkedIn profile. Some people, you do not even have to write a CV. And that's why I put Sage's picture there. Sage is one guy that when I go into his LinkedIn profile, I'm like, God, what am I doing in my life? Right? Sometimes recruiters open your CV and close it and just go to your LinkedIn profile. And I'm telling you things that happen all the time. Then the next thing is, what's your personal brand saying? So what do people think about you online and offline? Are you reliable? Can you tell your story convincingly? Can an organization take a bet on you? Then this last point is very important, right? Are you still a local champion, or are you imprinting your name on the global map? So this verse is a bit, I don't want to use the word constrained or constricted, but the world is becoming a global village gradually, right? Undergraduates are now doing internships with white and case from Nigeria. And so it is very important that while we are, champions and we work with the best law firms in Nigeria, we are also thinking about opening up, and these things work like pipeline. When someone works with white and case, the person opens up door to a lot of people to work with white and case. I have a lot of friends that are working with the legal department of Bank of America and Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, because they had seen one senior colleague that, tried 3 times and got in. My newest friend on Instagram works as a policy lawyer or whatever she calls the role at TikTok. And then because she applied like 70 times and got into TikTok, a lot of people are now having, the boldness and courage to apply to Zoom, to apply to TikTok, because they have a senior colleague that works with TikTok. And that is how these things work. So are you imprinting your name, on the global map? And I think, okay, I don't think, yeah, so this is just like a roundup, your knowledge, keep expanding your knowledge base, own your skills, what can you do well? A lot of people can do, that's one thing I do, a lot of people can do a lot of things well, and they don't know. Some people, it's not that they went to study in school, but they can analyze market portfolio for you. And you'll be wondering if they studied accounting or finance, and they are law graduates, right? Do not trivialize anything that you think that you can do well. Then, yeah, the last point is visibility. If you're my friend or you're my circle, you know that I'm very big on visibility. It's very important that people know you and they know what you can do. Blow your horn. And I think that I'll end there so that I'll be able to take a lot of questions. Thank you very much for listening. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Faith. We really appreciate those very, very wonderful words. You said you were going to share a format with us when we start the question session. So we can start with that, the format for CVs. I mean, that's a good start. I also think what I took note of the most is how you said it's important that you also create a niche for yourself and be a pace setter. You're right. It's until I noticed that it is a thing to be a legal advisor to something like TikTok and all that, that I might consider, why not just try to apply to these apps I use as a legal advisor to them. So I have a mentor who is also a big brother to me in this legal profession. He not recently, that was 2019, before the Okada ban in 2020. He was given a directorship position at GoCada as a regulatory and government compliance officer. And the reason is because he has so much affiliations with government officials. So lawyers must expand their horizon as to how they can play roles in different sectors of the economy. So in addressing that, I really think it's important that we see beyond just the law firms. There are companies that need lawyers. There are companies that need, compliance officers. See yourself as a value and solution provider in different sectors. So Faith, over to you. You could just, share with us a few formats. That could be our first question. If you have any other questions, please put it in the chat box. This is the session where I will not be the one asking the questions directly. If you have questions and you have been listening, just put it in the chat box and I'll make your questions known to the audience, to Faith to address.
Okay, yeah, so can we see my screen?
I can see your screen. I believe others can see your screen too.
Okay, so you guys are lucky. This is the first time I'm using my personal CV.
Oh, we really appreciate.
Okay, yeah, so this is a CV that got me my current job. Even though, like I said, in the end, and if you check my profile, you'll see it was my LinkedIn that ultimately landed me an interview. So this, like the opening place, you can have your career objective or your career profile. People write mundane stuff there. It is very important that you highlight the things that you are exactly interested in. If I'd known it was going to be a legal, stuff, I would have prepared like a sample, a legal sample. But where I wrote, recruitment and selection, people operations, you can write, your IPL, your ADL, your litigation skills, your corporate commercial skills, and, also define what you are looking to do. Some people want to work with law firms. Some people want to work in the legal department of organizations. I've met friends who have insisted that it is UN or, AU. They don't want to work with private organizations. They want to work with USAID and UKID and the likes. Whatever it is, you don't have to say reputable organization. You can put the exact organization. You can put the exact role, right? I also get a lot of questions around certifications. A lot of people take some things that are not exams. So I just coined this term called Advanced Development Program. Either it's an exam or a course or a conference, all you are doing is that you are developing yourself, right? So just put it there. You took a lot of, a couple of advanced development programs. You can put your exams, what's the arbitration? I know there's an arbitration exams that people write. If you attended—
Yes, there is. There is, you to become a member of the institute. Yes.
Exactly. So, you took associate courses with Harvard, all these Harvard X courses, put it there. Then your work experience. Now, remember when I was talking about numbers and impact? I'm just going to read like 2 bullet points. So look at my first bullet point, right? I reinforce the end-to-end recruitment and selection process of employees. Recruiting the best talent to meet business needs. That's like the first impact. And I also assisted in pipeline development of talent. So that's like a lot of HR thing. But I could have just written, reinforce the end-to-end recruitment and selection process of employees. And whoever is reading my CV will understand what I was saying. But I also had to ensure that, I did not just recruit talent. I recruited talent that met the business needs. I mean, I was working in G in Nigeria. I could have just put G in Nigeria. But it was a sub-Saharan African role. So I had to indicate also that it was a sub-Saharan African role. If you look at my 4th point here, I piloted a communication and branding strategy for an employee experience, captivating content that draws engaging attendance of over 200 employees across Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. I did not have to put the number of employees, honestly, and without the number of employees, this bullet point will not be watered down, right? But I have to indicate that I did not just plan it for a 20-man team or a 20-man organization. It was a 200 employees across different locations. So if a multinational is looking to hire me now, and they're probably concerned about my ability to manage teams that are not on site, this has already given them an insight that I was in Lagos, and then I planned an event for people in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. So every word, if you're a creative writer, you will know this point. Every word on your CV matters. Every word. See this now, I put in the numbers. I manage recruitment process of 20 firms, vetting over 500 CVs, and all, right? So that's really like an overview, volunteer activities. If there are volunteer activities that has to do with your skills or what you are interested in, I like to put EduBridge Academy because my role is a bit related to talent management and all that. So, and that's really it. That's really it. So if you have a project and award, just put a couple And they do not have to be work related. One of my hilarious projects is that I read 103 books in 2018. And I always talk about it anywhere I go, right? That, between 2018 and 2020, I read 100 books every year. You might not know, but that might be something that, captures your recruiter's attention. I know Akin, for example, always says that he wrote 90 articles in 90 days between January and March 2019. It's just writing articles, right? But then that's a big deal. You are demonstrating consistency, you are demonstrating tenacity, you are demonstrating diligence. So I think that is really an overview of my CV, as you can see, and I hope that you learned one or two things. Thank you.
Wow, Faith, believe me, I need to come and see you personally, because you have to just, you know what they call cut soap in this our generation. I mean, your CV is impeccable. I have to say that it's impressive.
You have to consult me, please. You have to book consultation fee.
Oh, so Zeno, you are his manager.
Yeah.
Okay, duly noted, Zeno. I'll make sure to reach out to you first. No offense. So, I mean, any other questions from our part? Because we're trying to round off this session. And believe me, it's been a very impactful session. There's a lot each and every one of us has learned. And I think one thing you brought out is the fact that you need to have facts and figures in your CVs. Yes. Packaging is important, yes, but let your packaging not be so vague. Put the facts and figures. I mean, just imagine how you put it there that you read 103 books in 2018, and you also included that you were published in Nigerian Tribune for that achievement. So facts and figures are important alongside properly packaging your CV. That's important to note.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't even talk about that. So imagine that you just look at my CV and you noticed that.
That's why I took out of it. Just one glance, and that was what I was thinking. I was like, wow. I mean, if you are just read 103 books, it's okay. But to the fact that you are published in a newspaper, national newspaper to that effect, that's something to take note of. So you didn't just stop there, but you found a way to make sure everyone knew you did that. It tells you as someone who also has the capacity to, project themselves. And that's just from just reading a line.
Thank you for noticing that.
No, don't worry. I'm just fancying you for future use. Don't worry. You will understand why. But Zeno, I won't cut corners. I'll come through you by the grace of God. So I want to know if there's any other thing.
I'm briefing you, Josh.
Zeno, we'll talk later. Don't worry.
Send me a message, please. We have hands. I'm briefing you.
No, we'll talk. No offense. No vex. So any other thing before we round off? Because I'm sorry, I muted myself by mistake. It's been a very wonderful session for the past 2 days. Can we please ask questions now or forever hold our peace and call it a wonderful close to the past 2 days? If there are no other questions, I would like to hand over to Zeno or Zikora, who would like to round off this.
Okay, someone is rounding it off.
Zikora will be rounding it off. If nobody asks any question while Zikora is rounding off, then we'll just take it as they'll reach out to you personally. So Faith, you can drop your personal information for them to reach out to you then. Okay. Zikora, over to you.
So thank you very much. Okay, Zeno.
Yeah, sir, I have a question. Please, Faith, Emmanuel, please, can you give us like difference between resume and CV, or do they actually mean the same thing? Like, are there things that your resume should contain that your CV would not, and please? Thank you.
Thank you for this very important question. I'm glad that someone asked. There's no difference. One is UK, one is US. I'm even always mixing it up. I don't know which one is UK and which one is US, but there's no difference. I've seen someone come to say, oh, resume is the one that is academic inclined, and CV is the one that is work inclined. No, there's no difference between a CV and a resume. But when I take core CV classes, that's like the first question I ask. One is just UK, one is US. So when I mean one is UK, it means that for some European countries, they say submit your CV. So don't be surprised if you're applying for a scholarship in UK and you apply for another scholarship in US. And when you open the US, you say submit your resume. And then when you open UK, you say submit your CV. And then you open Canada and you say submit your resume, and you're confused. It's just different balance for different countries. That's clear. Any other question?
I think that's all. I don't see any other questions. Oh, you put your phone number on the group. That's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I forgot. By the way, so I have a YouTube channel where I actually talked about, CV writing, how to ace an interview. I can't find the link. How to optimize your LinkedIn to get jobs. You could just search for Emmanuel Faith on YouTube.
Okay, no problem. So thank you very much, everybody that has been around yesterday and that has been around today. I can see a lot of people that broke out and joined us and all of that. I really appreciate your presence. It has taken a lot of work to plan this event. And if you saw the array of speakers, I'm sure you would agree with me. Please, if you have any challenges or if you have any if there's any way you think we have come short or there are things that you think that we can improve, we're always taking feedback. We have a new blog on some Medium for now. So, and we will tweet it. Please follow us on Twitter so that you get updates on all the things that we're doing. I think this is where the Grey Discourse team says thank you very much for coming. And we'll be signing off in a bit. Joshua and Zeno, they have a meeting that they have not told us details of. So we'll check out that meeting. Please be informed, meanwhile, that this whole session from yesterday to today, every session will be on our YouTube channel. And we're going to reduce it to our podcast channel in case you prefer to just listen and not see the videos, the visuals. We will also arrange to have the sessions on our blog and on Facebook as well. We've been streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, and I hope we have had people follow on these fronts. We've done the Grey Discourse, the second one, and thank you very much once again for participating. I think this is where we say good night, have a great weekend, and God bless you.